Orlando has long been known as the City Beautiful, also known as the City with a Sound.
Live on stage,
The Sound.
Orlando! So, is they ready?
You mean to say that's the best you can do? Hip-hop is something you live. Almost anybody could do better than that.
You know? Okay. The sound of Orlando! Show. Knock this down like it's supposed to be.
On your FM dial.
Say rock car.
Is to trying to hold this up.
Really sad about that. So I definitely want to give a toast to Eddie Van Halen, which is part of my childhood growing up. You know, it was very, 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 very instrumental in my musical upbringing. When I first heard Running with the Devil, Hot for Teacher, and one of my favorite songs in the world, Jump, I was just like completely blown away by Van Halen and Eddie Van Halen's musical, like, melodic guitarmanship that he was just insane. And then Beat It, he just killed it. It was just, you know, it's a tough loss. 2020 is not taking any, you know, any shorts right now, and it's sad. But Eddie Van Halen, R.I.P. We love you, man. You've made great music. We love you. Now, back to the Sound of Orlando show with your boy Rome. We are live and direct tonight with my brother from another mother. I met him a while back, and I was blown away with his ability to understand music. I mean, the man was just born for music, in my opinion. And then he opened up this record pool, and it didn't matter what time I came and see him. He was just like, man, just make sure you're here when you come in. I would get there, and he'd have my records ready, man, and he always blessed me with some dope records to take to the club. He's been through a lot. He's one of the dopest DJs I know, representing the city of the O. And without further ado, let me just introduce my brother, DJ Infinite. Let's go.
Yes, sir. What's up, my brother?
Yes,
Rome,
man. Yes.
Rome. Yes, we do go back a ways.
A ways, bro. A ways.
I mean, like decades.
Decades, bro. Decades, man. And it's incredible, man, because when I look back at most of the DJs that have kind of stood the test of time, you're one of those people that continually evolved, regardless to the clubs that have come and gone, regardless of how the music has switched up. You've always maintained your prowess in this culture we call hip hop, you know, and you've never allowed anything to shake you out of it. And that's kudos to the tough DJ upbringing we all kind of grew up with, you know, here in Orlando, because it was no joke. It was no joke.
No, it wasn't. You know, I mean, and you know, I mean, I've been very blessed to have, I'd say, a 20-something year run.
Right.
You know, it wasn't an easy run,
Right.
but it was a run, and you know, I mean, I've been blessed to have that experience here in Orlando.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So why don't you let's start the show with exploring some of your origins. Where are you originally from? I mean, what if it's from here? Describe some of where you went to school at. For anybody that might be watching this that doesn't know who you really are.
Yeah.
How did you get started? You know, how did you meet hip hop, and where? You know. How
did I meet hip hop? Well, you know, I mean, I'm half Puerto Rican, half Italian, and I went to. I used to live, you know, on the Oak Ridge area. I grew up around Oak Ridge and Americana,
Okay.
and all that.
I'm cutting
That's
you
where
off.
I grew up.
I'm cutting you off, man. We are Oak Ridge, the Ridge, continues to bring out nonstop DJs from that area. I mean, the Ridge just does not play when it comes to that hip hop, man. It just keeps putting out hip hop DJs. Talk about
You
that.
know, it's really funny because, you know, I mean, I grew up there. You know, my man Night Train grew up there.
Yes.
DJ Nasty used to live right down off of Oak Ridge.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there was a hellified batch of DJs back then.
Right.
That grew up in that area. So, you know, I mean, I was lucky to, you know, I met Nasty, I think it was 89 or 90.
Right.
A friend of mine brought me to his house and, you know, I mean, introduced me to him, and, you know, I was like, wow, okay. And I had the privilege of being in one of his first videos.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I'm up in that video with some airbrushed overalls, you know, I mean, rocking the 90s shit.
Shout out to all the airbrush shit that was going on in that early 90s, that late 80s. I mean, shout out to all of that shit, because that shit was tough back then, bro. You had to rock that.
You remember back then, you know, I mean, you know, speaking about airbrush, you know, I mean, we had to get our shit hooked up by Neil.
Oh, bro, you already know, man.
You know, back then it was, you know, I mean, you had to make an appointment with Neil, say, yo, I want to come by and get my shirt done, and my overalls and my pants and my jean jacket.
Right.
And he'd be like, oh, man, I'm booked up for like 2 weeks. I'm like, yo, I need that shit by like tomorrow for a gig.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he went on to do a bunch of other stuff. You know, he did Magic Mike's album covers and,
right.
you know, a bunch of airbrush stuff for me. I must have dropped shit, a couple $100 with him.
Right.
You know? But, you know, I mean, having an eclectic group of DJs in that area, you know, I was able to meet them and learn, you know, as I'm coming up, you know, I mean, coming up in this game, I've learned a lot, you know, being on the industry side of it with the record pool and having to work for some of the record labels, excuse me. And, you know, I mean, just having good friends, you know what I mean? You know, shit, me and you go back to, I think I met you, the first time I met you was, it had to be 89 at Dale's pool party.
Dale, shout out to Dale, yo. You already know.
When we did that pool party in his backyard as you know what I mean? And then I think the next time I DJ'd a party with you at your boy's apartment. And I can't remember his name.
Man, fuck. Dude.
I don't remember his name, but it was me, and I think you and somebody else. We DJ'd that little apartment house party.
Wow, bro, you just
that shit went on
back.
to like 4 in the damn morning.
Yeah, you just took me back, bro. And but that speaks of the legacy of Oak Ridge, man. Because when you're talking about Oak Ridge, I mean, we're talking Twice as Nice. To your point, DJ Nasty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking my man Smooth J Smooth. Shout out to Julian.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking all of these legacies.
Remember, it was DJ Nasty and Smooth J Smooth.
Yes, and that
What was the name of that song? Oh my jeez, I can't remember. Something Hard for the 90s, I think it was, or something like that. I can't remember.
You got me on it, man.
But we filmed that at Full Sail. I never forget that day. They were like, he hit me up. He's like, yo, I need you to come through this video shoot. I'm like, okay. And he's like, just put on something fly, and you know, you're just gonna be in the background.
You're right.
To this day, I don't think I've ever saw that video. To this day, I don't think I've ever.
Shout out to Julian, man. On you know, that was a crazy era when it comes to hip hop, because during that time we had Magic Mike running the city literally, and I remember it was like everybody outside of Jazzy Jeff, outside of maybe Cut Creator, outside of Kid Capri, and things like that. People were wanting to emulate the greatness of Magic Mike.
If you go back to that time, you know, I mean, it was bass music. 88, 89, 90 International Drive with all the trucks, you know, I mean, going back and forth. So back then it was all bass music.
Right.
You know, and Mike at that time, you know, I mean, when I first heard his first album, you know, Magic Mike Cuts the Record, I was completely blown away. Right. You know, when I actually started DJing, I started with a tape deck and one turntable, and that damn. And matter of fact, that realistic mixer that I posted the other day that I found in a garage shelf for $10 damn.
Right.
That mixer. So
Dude.
you know, and you can't. The only scratch records we had back then was Whistle, Just Buggin'. You know, with the whistle.
Right.
So you know, I mean, I would play like Eazy-E, NWA, De La Soul, stuff like that. I would play and I would learn to cut.
Right.
And then Mike comes out and just completely blows my fucking mind. You know what I mean? His cuts were so quick, and it's like, all right, now I got to get on this part. So now I'm trying to find all the records that had all the samples so I can, you know, emulate his style. You know, big ups to Magic Mike because, you know what I mean, I've told him many a times, you know, I actually was a fan of his going to his concerts at Beecham, you know, again in the airbrushed overalls and all that shit again. You know, a fan of all his albums. You know what I mean? Having the speakers in the car, playing Feel the Bass and Drop the Bass. You know, and I'm humbled to know, you know, to have him as a friend, you know what I mean?
Right, right. And you know what's crazy? I mean, shouts out to Geography. Oak Ridge was maybe about, you know, I'm exaggerating right now, but literally like 4 blocks and a stone's throw away from Cheetah Records, which was right down the street. So, you know, that vibe and that whole essence was so dope back then. And for DJs, you know, you wanted those kind of cuts. You weren't even worried about the hip hop cuts. You were trying to get those Magic Mike cuts that he just, you know, Magic Mike Cut the Record was just, it was such a basic like importance in growing up in Orlando, because that was the first time that we had somebody representing Orlando
Exactly.
on some like, ain't nobody messing with me, and ain't nobody fucked with that record at all.
You know, it's really it's one of those things to where, you know, Mike was out. You know, Mike was, you know, getting worldwide. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those things to where, you know, I mean, I go back to, you know, watching some, you know, Scratch Pickles videos, and here comes Magic Mike walking up to his house, and he's like, "Oh, look who's outside!" And you see Mike like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh shit, Magic Mike's hanging out with Cuber."
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where it was one of those, you know, he blew up and his shit was getting played everywhere.
Right.
You know, because you're going back to the 80s and you know, early 90s, that bass music was the shit.
Right, right. And
You know?
and I want you to speak on that for a minute, because a lot of people, I know we call it bass music, right? But I'm going to tell you the truth. To me, that wasn't bass music. It was hip hop, because all of that stuff that was going on at that time, Two Live Crew's first album, to me, was hip hop.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that-
You know what I mean?
We
I
call
see-
it bass music,
I-
but it was a part of our hip hop
It
culture.
was that.
is what it
That's the
was.
genre I called it. You know,
Right,
it was a genre of hip hop. Because
Right.
back then, everything, you know, I mean, hip hop was going 115 to 125 beats per minute.
Right, right.
You know what I'm
right.
saying? So, and that,
Right.
you know, that's the category if it, you know, a lot of it filled into. So,
Right.
You know, it was a part of hip hop. Just like you had, you know,
Right.
Mike was representing the South. You know, then you had, you know, Kwame and all them cats up in New York. You know, rocking the polka dots. You know,
Right,
you had
right.
Eazy-E and NWA on the West Coast. You know, along with Ice-T. So, you know, it was one of those genres of hip hop.
Right.
Because hip hop had a lot of genre. You know, hip hop is spread out over genres.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You had, you know, the eras. You had the 70s. You had the 80s. You had the 90s, 2000s. You know, and into now. So.
But when we talk about bass music, a lot of times, I think it gets a bad rap in the sense of that it had nothing to do with hip hop, like we affectionately say West Coast rap, right?
Yeah.
Like that West Coast rap, we still consider it hip hop, but we never kind of pushed it off to the side and said it was bass music, as we all guilty of. It was just as much of the hip hop upbringing and DJ culture as anything else, because
Oh yeah, most certainly.
most DJs started
But see, the
cutting
thing
on
is-
that Planet Rock record.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
the thing is also too, going back to that age, I don't think we had an East Coast. I mean, like, you know, a dirty South. You know, the South, the North. You know, I think it was split to the West and the East back then.
Right,
You
right,
know, everything.
absolutely.
The USA was just split down the middle. You
Right.
had your East Coast, you had your West Coast. We were considered East Coast. everything from California down to Texas was the West Coast.
Right.
You know, because you had you know, a lot of stuff coming out of Texas. You know, yeah, you had your bangers coming out.
Right.
But-
But looking back retrospectively, it's like, you know what? That stuff was just as much as hip hop
Oh yeah, most
as
definitely.
it was anything else that was coming out during that time. And if you were a DJ, you had to learn how to cut. I mean, I think the DJ in the South was actually more dangerous than the ones in the East Coast, because they had to learn not only to scratch on them 90 beats per minute, but they were scratching at 120 and 130.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and
most
that
definitely.
shit was just like, if you could cut like that, wasn't nobody fucking with you.
No.
You know, and
And you know that goes, you know, like with Magic Mike. What was the other one back then? Jealous J.
right.
You know, I mean, that cat. You know, that was another one that, you know, I mean, I cut it up deaf.
Right.
That record right there is one of those ones I mimicked to try to cut to.
Right.
You know, I would
right.
listen to it and then play it back and then try to get it and then play it back and then practice and then get it back and practice.
Right.
You know, and along with Mike's stuff, that's how I, you know, try to get the faster cuts.
Right.
You know, then in the 90s, hip hop started coming back down to the 90, 95 BPM area,
Right.
with, you know, Tribe Called Quest and all that stuff. Then it came to more, for me, it was more about the clean cuts. Wasn't as, you know, you don't have to be quick with it. It was just more of just, you know, doing the cut you need to do, dropping the song in, boom, mixing it up. And again, this is pre-Serato, so we're going back to actually having to have doubles. You know, when you're mixing out of a song, play the instrumental, or hurry up, get that other record, put it on the damn other boom, bring it in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's kind of go back again. You're in Oak Ridge. You're surrounded. You're coming out of a class in which we all came out of the same class. Shout out to the NBA. You know, we all kind of came out of similar years in the class. Of you had your Nasties, you had myself, you know, there's so many people coming out of that class. And when you come out of Oak Ridge, how did you say, okay, well, boom, I wanna actually start taking DJing serious? What was that moment like?
I think it was probably, you know, like after I met Nasty and you know, the Magic Mike stuff. It's real funny because I used to work at the Shiners Car Wash right there on OBT, and I think I saved up enough money back then to actually buy one 1200 in the Realistic mixer. And you know, at that point, you know, with Mike, and then one of the other things too is Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince had came here for a concert, and I went to that show, and watching Jazzy Jeff do his brand new funk routine,
Yeah.
just put it on another level for me to go, okay, I want to learn how to do that. So that's when the whole starting to learn the DMC tricks and watching the videos and you know what I'm saying, going back to the VHS days of trying to, you know, your boy just got the new one, the 1989 or the 1990 finals, US finals, you know, watching that and trying to, you know, emulate, you know, copy what they were doing. You know, and then as time went on, you know, turntables, you know, elevated, mixers went elevated. So it was one of those things to where I've been humbled to actually learn from the beginning.
And shout out to all my DJs out there who know something about Radio Shack, because Radio Shack was the lifesaver. If you couldn't find anything anywhere else, you know, RCA cables, you know, some Y splitters, that was the place you went to.
XLR cables.
XLR cables, that was the place you went to immediately. And the Realistic mixer, that was everybody's entry-level mixer. Right, you already know. This is what I'm talking about. This is
the one I posted last week that I picked up for $10 at a damn garage sale.
That is insane, bro. That was like $150, and at the time, that $150 was like $400.
Yeah, because back then I think I was making $4.25 an hour at the car wash. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, $4.25 an hour. You know, if you do the math, Techniques. I think my first Techniques turntable cost me about $380.
Right, and that was like $100 at the time. It was not cheap. And when you had that realistic mixer, dude, and I remember this, that fader was horrible. It was so horrible. You couldn't cut.
It's really funny because that's the one I think we all use WD-40 on.
Right.
To loosen up that damn fader.
Right.
I don't give a damn who you are, who had that mixer. WD-40 was your best friend on that mixer.
Dude.
And, you know, when I met Nasty and he had the same mixer, he showed me how to take the buttons and actually make them clickers. Wow. So I went back to Radio Shack and I bought the little toggle switches and rewired and soldered those back on so you could actually have an actual, you weren't using the button on it. You remember that? It was just a little button that you clicked the line.
Right. It was the button.
Now it was actually a transformer.
Now,
Nasty actually showed me that on that mixer.
Okay. So let's slow that down. For the people that are listening, Radio Shack not only sold equipment, but it sold like, you know, diodes and all kinds of little different things. To whereas if you had to break the entire machine down into pieces, you could actually take it, recircuit the whole entire machine, and make it work to your favor. And
that was our Skycraft of today.
Boom! Boom! Boom!
That's it. That was our Skycraft of, you know, for today.
Right.
Radio Shack.
And we had to have that place. That place was like a lifesaver on so many levels. Your speakers blew out. Well, let me just go to Radio Shack and go cop me some Realistics for the show, just to get through the show. Whatever happened, that was the place to go.
And those were the worst fucking speakers in the world.
Ever.
They were $50, $60, but at that point you didn't care. You was like, yo, my 12 blue. And, you know, back then we weren't using, you know, JBLs or anything. We were using house speakers.
Right.
You know, we weren't using JBLs or EVs or Thumps. We were using homemade Techniques or Panasonic or whatever house speakers.
Right.
So when they blew, you're like, fuck that. I just get that. Let me just get it, put it in, put the two, boom. All right, I'm good to go. Blow that speaker, and then next week go back and get another one and put it back in.
And there was a lot of speakers blowing when that bass came out, bro, because people were replacing shit left and right because the amps was all fucked up. They didn't know the ohm shit, and it was just an incredible, you know, for a lot of people have the opportunity now to just get on Serato, plug in a USB cable, and everything works, right?
Yeah.
And then plug into a mixer, and everything works. But when we were growing up, you had to be a MacGyver, or you had to know a MacGyver. That, you know, he just carried the crates of records.
You had to have that extra. You had to have that friend in your clique that if you got to the gig and your shit didn't work, yo, get the car and go back to your house and go grab a turntable or go grab a tape deck or whatever the hell you forgot or that's broken. You had him go back and get it, so you had a backup.
Right.
And you know, like I said earlier, you know, I mean, I was blessed to have friends that, you know, in the game we grew up, you know, learning off of each other. You know,
right.
When I first started, I didn't know how to mix two records together. No, you know, a friend of mine broke it down and said, you know, you got to get the BPM of the song. So, you know, at that point, that's, you know, I'm starting to go to Peaches and pick up records. And
Shout
all
out
this
to
shit.
Peaches. Shout out to Peaches.
And, you know, I mean, later on, after I got into it, I never knew Magic Mike actually worked at the Peaches by the Florida fucking Mall.
Right.
I walk in there, I was like, oh, shit, it's Magic. Hey, man, how you doing? You know, I'm a big fan of yours, but can I get that DOC 12-inch? I need 2 copies of that, please.
Dude,
and, you know, Mike,
talk about that, bro. Talk about how he had a hit record on the radio, and yet he worked at Peaches.
He was humble, and he was working at Peaches. And to this day, Mike is one of the humblest dudes I've ever met in my life. Right. You know, when Promo Only throws their parties and all that stuff, you know, I mean, he's there. You know, and he'll talk with you, chat it up. You know, he'll chat with me in Remington. You know what I mean? He'll chat with all the other DJs there. And that's one thing that, you know what I mean, I like is he's humble. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Patty on the check-in. He's still a MacGyver. Yes, sir.
Oh, that's my wife right there.
Yes, you already know.
Big shout out to Miss Infinite.
Yes.
And going forward, coming up to we're going to be almost married almost 20 years next year.
Congratulations.
I mean, she has been my rock through all the shit that I've been through all the up and downs.
Right.
That woman right there has been my rock and has always supported whatever decisions I made in this game. And as you get older, I think everybody needs that person that's gonna stand beside you through thick and thin. When fucking promoters are backing out and trying not to pay you and all that shit, that she was the one. There's a little story here. When I used to work at Roxy's, this is probably early 2000s. Promoter flaked out and didn't want to pay me. So she sees me sitting in the corner, arguing with this dude. I'm like, yo, you owe me money. I came through. This is what you're going to pay me, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, I'm like, all right, fuck it. I leave. Get down to the car. All of a sudden, there's a set of turntables in the back of my car. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, I took them motherfuckers. I'm like, what? And she's like, yo, that place owes you money? I got their tables. And you know what? Here's the funniest story about that. After that happened, the next day they called me and they're like, yo, where are the turntables that were upstairs? And I'm like, yo, they're in my car. And like, what do you mean they're in your car? I'm like, they're in my car. You owe me money. And this is not just 1 week. This is going on like 4 weeks worth of pay.
Oh, wow.
Every week it was a fucking story. So I said, either you have my money and I'll bring the tables back, or I'm just going to clean them up and sell them because I can get rid of them in 20 minutes.
Right.
I'll bring them back up here. As soon as I came up there, they had cash money in my hand. Boom. And that was, and she's watching this right now saying, I love you, babe. Thank you for that.
Right,
but,
right.
she's been my partner, my ride or die, my thick or thin for the last 20 years, bro. And I salute her for everything that we've gone through. You know what I mean? So. And
shout out to Jude, to Caesar on the check-in. He's saying,
Caesar.
You just dropped some jewels on him, and that's what it's about. At the end of the day, you are blessed to have people in your corner, especially as a DJ, because a DJ is a complicated life.
Oh, most definitely.
You're living a life in which you have a love for music, and a lot of times you don't get paid in the sense of the love that you put out for that music. And if you don't have that person in your life that knows about that struggle, that knows about all those ups and downs, and to your point, will actually come and be like, yo, I got you. Ain't nobody ripping my man off.
That was taking money out of my kids' mouths.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm taking that money back home to, at that point my son was, just born.
Right.
You're taking money out of our mouths.
Right.
And that's one thing my wife don't play. Don't fuck with the money.
Right.
That's
right.
We've had, like I said, many ups and downs with promoters and this and that. And she's like, you know what, fuck them, don't go back. Or
right.
You know what, go back, try to work it out. If not, fuck them. And
right.
And again, we're going back pre-Serato days.
Right. Right.
We're going back to those. Either you use that in the CD player that was just the start and stop button. You remember
right.
that one?
Right.
Or you using tables.
But that was for a short time, because they came out and it's a very short interval, maybe about a year or two, and then it transferred over to Serato once those CDJs came out.
Serato hit right around, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 2005 or 2006.
Right.
The whole, and it was still something that was brand new to people, because
right.
either you were still rocking tables or
right.
you jumped ship and you went to CDJs, and now Serato was out.
Right.
So now you're going either back to rocking tables or back to rocking, the CDJs.
Right.
I've had this demeanor that, I think Serato was sometimes a gift and a curse.
Right.
For the real DJs that were working back then.
Right.
Back then you had to have your vinyl, you had to have your equipment, you had to have skills.
Talk about it.
You weren't getting a job. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Talk about it.
And again, going back to the early 2000s, there wasn't as many bars and nightclubs in Orlando.
Right.
You had Firestone, which I was, humble enough to get a spot there on a Friday night for the Latin night.
Right.
I went from there to, Roxy's, to Beecham, to, every place. But back then, what you spun and how you DJ'd talked about you.
Right.
You know, because I think I started Firestone late 99, 2000.
Right.
A DJ friend of mine was working there, and this is right when I started doing the record pool.
Right.
This is right when I met Clark J. And he put me on as the to run the record pool, and I think it was more people, because give or take, I had 45 to 50 DJs coming to my crib every month to pick up vinyl.
Right.
I'm talking about anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50 pieces of vinyl, depending on what I got in. And when them white labels hit, I'm on the phone with Nasty, I'm on the phone with Remington, I'm on the phone with this one, I'm on the phone with that one. Yo, just got the exclusive white label of blah, 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 blah. Shit, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Boom. You know what I mean? You had to be hungry. Right. And you had to go do your digging. You had to go to Rock and Roll Heaven. You had to go to, Peaches back then or whatever record stores were open. You had to order your bootlegs off of from New York, your killer cuts and all that stuff.
Order? Dude, I drove up there once a damn week,
I think for me it was, I was placing an order once a month when I go on their website and look at the new bootlegs that came out, those killer cuts. You remember those killer cuts?
I used to go to Beach Street in the Bronx all the time to pick up vinyl. I drove all the way there and made it back by the time the club opened. Damn near.
Shit. I just ordered them. I'm like, yo, put them 30 records in a box. I don't give a fuck what the shipping is, but I need them by Friday. Then they get here and I'm going through them. Okay, putting the markers on them. You know what I'm saying? Putting the BPM on them. Putting them, because when I used to DJ, when I originally, Firestone was probably the first club I worked at.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
shout out to Firestone.
They put the DJ friend of mine that was there, had an emergency, had to bounce and had to go back up to New York. So he was like, yo, if you want it, you can have it. This is your gig now, blah, 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 blah. So I was kind of just thrown into Firestone. I would come in and do it like an hour set with him, but I wasn't, really familiar how the club scene worked until I got to Firestone. And you're going back to those days again. I used to carry 4 recycling bins of records to the club.
All day long.
4 recycle. I had a hip hop, a reggae, an R&B, and then everything else.
How many? I didn't hear you.
4.
I didn't hear you. 4. Okay.
4 recycling bins.
Yes.
Like those things you put out in your front yard and they collect. 4 of those. And I think sometimes I had a DJ bag of the newer stuff.
Yep.
And I'm back then. You had your reggae. You had your hip hop. You had your bootlegs. You had whatever. But you had those genres, and it's really funny because when I first started doing that, I think a lot of people categorized me as a hip hop DJ. That's that was the title. Oh, that's that's Ray. That's Infinite. He's a hip hop DJ. Towards I think the middle of 2000, once Serato hit, and it was more of an availability to get these songs. Right. That I was like, yo, I like whether it be Sade or Red Hot Chili Peppers and shit like that. It was one of those things where I was like, okay. And I think the first time I ever heard DJ AM.
Nice. Shout out. R.I.P. DJ AM, bro. All day.
I think that kind of blew my fucking mind because I listened to a mix that he played, and he went from hip hop to rock to R&B to fucking Britney Spears to to whatever. And I was like, holy shit. And and this is like right when the internet started coming out. So later on, as I saw the videos, him and Jazzy Jeff and him rocking out in certain places, I was like, yo, I like that. I want to play Sade. I want to play Red Hot Chili Peppers. I want to play some fucking Van Halen or some Journey. You know what I'm saying? Right. So once Serato hit, I think I opened myself more to be like an open format.
Well, no, and stop right there. Stop right there. Shout out to anybody that knows the struggle of DJing in those early days, the good old bad days. Because those days, DJs now can complain about money, but those DJs back then had to work hard for that money. You might have been young, but you carrying crates of records to the club. Then when everything shuts down, everybody's going home having fun. You got to carry them crates.
You putting all of them back in the sleeve, putting them back in order.
Right,
putting
them back in order, having to carry that shit out. And you might have a couple of your boys with you, but it didn't matter. It wasn't easy work to bring all of that shit to a club and then have a promoter or the owner tell you, we couldn't pay you what we thought we were going to pay you.
Yeah, come up with that bullshit.
Right.
How many times have you heard that shit?
Right.
We didn't do the numbers we were gonna do, and then all of a
Right.
sudden now it went from 200. I gotta pay you $75. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
And that $100 or that $200 back in those days, those 90s, was the equivalent of like $500.
Yeah.
So if you played
Because
all
you got to
night,
think about it, dude.
Right.
He was going out and spending $8, $9, $10 on fucking records.
records, bro. It was
You know what I mean?
like
I'm
real
dropping
estate.
$200 every, $100 a week on new records when they came out.
Right.
Now you just you jump on your computer, you go to your record pool, now you go through the whole shit they put up there for you to download,
Right.
and you pull your songs out.
And
You
the
know what I'm saying?
equipment wasn't cheap. A lot of these places didn't have
It
the
still ain't
equipment.
cheap.
You had to bring the equipment with you too. You had to bring the sound and the music. So all these things you had to bring, and then these club owners, these promoters back in those days when hip hop wasn't really considered something viable for a club.
For a club. Now you got to remember. Now this is, like I said, I jumped in around 99, early 99, late 99, doing Firestone. But you got to remember, if you wanted to hear hip hop anywhere from 93,
Talk
94
about it. Talk
to
about it.
97,
Talk
that
about
was the Hitmen. I don't give a fuck who you were.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was Nasty, Khaled, and Caesar doing the parties at the Lebanese club on Mills Avenue.
Right.
The radio wasn't playing hip hop. Twice as nice. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to Twice as Nice. You know what I mean? Because those cats I also looked up to too as I was coming up. They would play freestyle. They would play some hip hop. But if you wanted to hear that the tribe, the Naughty by Nature, the fuck, dude. Just that grimy hip hop. You had to go to Lebanese club. Now they didn't sell any drinks. They just sold sodas and shit.
Right.
But you went there, and then also too when they were doing WPRK, that opened it up at one. When they would come on at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
What I mean, in Orlando, that's where you got to hear, your like I said, your De La Soul, your Easy E's, your whatever was popping back then that you didn't hear in the club. Because back then, Firestone was doing breaks.
Right.
That era from 95 to 2000 was, really ran by breaks in Orlando.
And the Edge
was doing
nothing.
breaks.
Yeah,
they would do their hip hop outside. They had like House of Pain, but it was just those popular joints.
Right.
Then you had, back then too, you had JJ Whispers with Jimmy Jams. Rest in peace to Jimmy Jams.
Rest in peace, Jimmy Jam. Let's go.
Like I said, big shout out to Twice as Nice because they did
You had
Breakfast
the
Club
spots.
across the street.
Spots. But let me cut you off. You had the spots. You had the heroes. You had the Metro.
Oh my God, you said heroes.
I
Holy
said heroes,
shit.
bro. Come on, man. During that
Wow.
time, we had heroes. We had Metro. We had I seen a flyer for it the other day. Shout out to Jesse Jazz. It was that club over there by Palladium. It was right on the corner of that strip mall. You remember that?
Oh shit! Yeah,
was
yeah.
right
It was at the other end of Palladium.
Right, it was the
And
under- right.
Jesse used to do that.
Yeah,
Jesse
yeah.
and,
He just posted that the other day, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, he
I
used to do
forgot
that.
about that fucking club. It was Silhouettes, I believe. Not
No,
Silhouettes.
Silhouettes was the big club. I forgot the one on the corner, but that one, God, that was Jesus Christ.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make
That was like the funniest thing about that, delivering records to Jesse at that place. That was like walking into just a big ass room with nothing in it. I swear to God, it was just a big ass room with a DJ booth and like a little portable fucking bar over to the side where they're making their drinks.
Patty says the house. I remember the house too.
You remember the house? It used to be right down the street from Firestone.
And she said
that place.
417, but it was 317.
Oh, in
Club
Eatonville.
3. Yeah, it was Club 317. That was right there on by the courthouse, right there right there on Orange Avenue. So if you went down Orange past Livingston, it was like right there on the left. 317, and they had a hip hop night, but it was like they were. I'm just trying to agree with you.
They just played hip hop at certain points. You know what I mean? It was like a 20-minute set, and then it went right back to house music or breaks or freestyle or whatever it was. It wasn't a long set. It was like a 15-minute set because back then the clubs didn't want the rowdiness. You know what I mean?
About it.
They didn't want you. And you know, it's really funny because I remember being, going to JJ Whispers out on Lee Road.
Shout out to JJ Whispers. Let's go.
Them dropping House of Pain, Scenario, Black Sheep. I still remember that to this day. I was talking with my wife about it. I remember that place just going fucking ballistic, especially like when you played "The Choice Is Yours" and that engine number 9 dropped, and you seen everybody in the club going down, down, and then that fucking thing came back on, and just it's just, I mean, that's some of my best years, dude.
Right. And Figgins Al says Club 436. Yeah. Well, yeah. And we're alluding to that because what we're saying is that the glorious spots or the strip wasn't trying to hear hip hop during
hip hop
those
was
years.
more underground than it was
Right.
anything back then. Because
And
like I said,
you had to
they
get
were
out of
renting out.
downtown to get
You had
to hear hip hop.
You had to go over to Mills. You had to go to Lebanese Club.
Right.
You had to go. You know what I mean? And I still remember to this day is you could go to Lebanese Club. The fucking line would be wrapped around the corner. And like I
Yo.
said, they didn't serve alcohol. You had to pregame before then. Whatever you were going to do, you're going to smoke out, you're going to drink. You pregame and you went in there, and it was Nasty, Khaled, and Caesar rocking the hip-hop.
Right. Shout out to my man Tony, man. He always comes with the facts. Diamonds. Yes. That's where the hip-hop was. It was right next to Magic Mall. Shout out to Diamonds.
Oh, yeah, it was towards the right.
Right. It was on the right of Magic Mall.
Because you had
And,
Metro like a little bit more down the street.
Right, down the street. But we, and they always did that to hip-hop in Orlando. They made it a black thing. So if you wanted to hear hip-hop, you had to go to the hoods to hear hip-hop.
And, big shout out to my man Disco from Disco and the City Boys.
Disco, let's go.
Because, over the years, me and him became friends. And, when he used to do the frat house over here on the east side, he put me on to all that southern hip hop, the fucking Master P and Down for My Niggas. I would leave the club when that motherfucker played that shit.
Right,
I'm out.
right.
Because that fucking place went ballistic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, Disco, also showed me a lot about how shit works.
Right.
When it comes to promoters and stuff like that. As well as Nasty did. Because like I said, when I first started, I think I was getting paid $75 fucking to do that little room on the side at Firestone. But, my run was 5 years. We ran 5 years on Latin Night with hip hop in that room. Now, again, as many times as bullshit happened, they wanted to cut hip hop away from the Latin Night completely, but it never worked. They tried it up and down to just be like, no, we're not doing hip hop in there, and put fucking house music in there, and people got so pissed off. But back then hip hop had that people were scared of it. I don't want to.
Come on, no, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know the truth. it was labeled as some gangster shit, and
that starts fights.
That starts fights.
Basically, because I was told there were certain records. There were certain records that I was told not to play in that room.
Not to play, right? You already know.
There was, and don't. The one record that I was told that I started playing when it first came out, and I think it went for after that. It was all these new songs started coming out that were real rowdy. They were like, "Yo, don't play that fucking song in here." Annie Up by M.O.P.
Come on, man.
I played that fucking song. That room went fucking ballistic.
Right.
And everybody got rowdy. That's don't get me wrong. It's a rowdy ass song, and it's one of my favorites. But it's funny because we always had extra security in that room. They would always do that. They put instead of 2 security guards, we had 3.
Talk about it, my brother.
That way they could yoke your ass out the side door and bring you through that side gate and throw you in the fucking street. All right, get your fuck out.
And here's the insanity about it, because we can look back at it retrospectively. It's almost the equivalent of basically them being like a conservative or Republican telling people that want to be free to do whatever the fuck they want to do, you can't listen to that music because this music may make you do things with these people. And
they did it in the 70s with rock music. Play the fucking record backward. Oh, you're gonna kill your parents.
Right.
And, it just carried over to different genre. Carried it to the the 70s to the 80s. To the 90s with hip hop. But that kind of somebody said Caribbean Beach Club.
Caribbean Beach Club, Jamaica me crazy.
Again, like I said, big shout out to my man Disco because I was there many a nights at the Caribbean Beach Club, and that shit.
Right, and that was a hotel lounge. This is
it was part of a hotel.
Had to do to get to have a spot because the people that had the venues in which would have given everybody something else. Now, mind you, I'm saying all of this with the predicate that, yes, it was crazy as fuck in the 90s.
Yeah.
Do not get it
But
twisted.
2000s got even worse.
And got even worse, right. But telling somebody not to play a record, which this happened many a time, to your point, not to play a record because such and such is going to happen, was a DJ's experience of racism. Because we were told to play certain music to keep certain people out. It wasn't the Element, because if the people that came in were strictly black, a lot of those clubs didn't want a lot of black people at those clubs during that time. They wanted
to a certain point. Like
they
when
wanted
I was
a mixture of everyone else.
they wanted everybody.
But they didn't want black people there.
You know what I mean? Again, I was blessed enough to be in that room on a Latin night. So we had a lot of Spanish 90s and 80s hip hop cats.
Right.
But then you also had the newer, that's what, I mean, Jay-Z was out, Jay-Z was dropping them, Ja Rule, I mean, music was coming up and it was getting the whole shiny suit era.
My man Tony said he went to jail at Caribbean Beach Club. Shout out to Caribbean Beach Club. Let's go.
But, I mean, music evolves. You know what I mean? Right. It went from, your pop stuff in the 90s, your bubblegum stuff, and then it got to the rugged and raw. And then the shiny suits. And,
what I wanted to explore with you, though, was how DJing was political in a lot of ways. Because we dealt with politics. A lot of the DJs, I know as a DJ, I would hear a lot of times, how come you didn't play this? How come you didn't play that? Had nothing to do with requests, and they would know I'd play it. But this promoter, if I'm working with a promoter, they didn't want that at that club.
No.
Because they didn't want the people to tell other people that we're playing that at the club, so that other people would show up. I remember that fucking vibration. Like, are you kidding me? And this was during the height of that 90s movement, that Method Man, that Wu-Tang Clan, that Mobb Deep, that Biggie.
See, and you couldn't play that. And the only place you would hear it was at the Lebanese or on WPRK. It was the only two places you could hear Mobb Deep or hear Method Man. I mean, I didn't know who the fuck Wu-Tang Clan was until I listened to one song and they dropped, Method Man on it. I'm like, well, who the fuck is this? I'm going to the store to go buy 36 Chambers right now. You know what I mean? I'm going to buy an Illmatic. I'm going to buy, Low End Theory, you know what I mean, and again going to get the Mobb Deeps and all that shit that was just the rugged sound. And the way I put it is the rugged and rawness of New York.
Here's the irony of it. Back then, our movement, our Biggies, our Wu-Tang Clans, our whatever artist that was bubbling at the time, where they performed? They didn't perform downtown. They performed at the Metro. They performed outside of the Strip. And then later on in the years, those similar artists got to perform downtown.
Oh yeah, because they seen, at that point, the people saw the draw and see how much money they can make. They're like, yo, this little fucking place over here, the Lebanese Club, there's 1,000 people lined up to go see the Lost Boys or whoever. I can't remember some of the artists they bring. There's 1,000 people going into a place that doesn't sell liquor, barely had enough security, and then the limit in there I think was like 4 and change.
Right.
So the people are waiting for people to leave, or they're just hanging out in the parking lot, because at that point that was the only place you can go to hear it.
Well, I think a lot of times people, and I'm saying this with the caveat that when we're talking about DJing, people think, especially right now, anybody can be a DJ. It's not that important. But during those fucking times, it was fucking revolutionary. And when you were a DJ and you were trying to start a movement, you brought in artists like the Jizza, to your point, the Lost Boys and stuff like that, because people said you couldn't in their venue. You had to make a fucking hall to bring those people in.
I remember, I think it was Caesar and Nasty bringing Gangstar.
Yes, talk about it.
And Heroes is in fucking Eatonville.
Right,
back
Jerry
then,
Reynolds brought Carmen down there, bro.
Oh, okay. So, you had these little places realizing, yo, I could make 15 grand, pay this artist $5, I'm walking away with 10 grand. You know what I mean?
Right.
The promoter's walking away with $10, $20, and like again, this is mid 90s.
Right.
You know, so they're making $5 or $10 at the door, and the bar's making money. But I mean, being realistic about it, so Firestone started catching wind.
Right.
The Edge started catching wind and saying, "Yo, we could bring House of Pain." You know, they had House of Pain, and they would bring the Edge would bring those rockish House of Pain. I think they even had like I think they had De La Soul there a couple times, and it got to the point to where I mean Firestone started doing it.
Right.
So now Firestone's popping up with hip hop nights. I mean Remington and Bernard and all them cats are now doing hip hop nights on Thursdays and this and that. So it started once, and I hate to say it because this goes back to being behind the scenes with the industry. When I did the record pool, I had weekly conference calls with Universal, Epic, Jive, Elektra. I mean, I had to be on these conference calls every week. Otherwise, I wasn't getting no product. And, I mean, I knew how important it was to get that new, 50 Cent joint, that white label that there's only 10 pressings of that I get a limited edition of. And, to be able to know them telling me, yo, I need this record played. And, I mean, people think, oh, they just sent me records and I just gave them away. No, I had to go to the clubs. I was out till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning going to see Nasty, going to see Remington, and making sure they're dropping this record.
Yeah,
I need to see the crowd's reaction.
You came to see me a couple times. Make sure
I need to see the crowd's reaction. So when I get on this conference call tomorrow, I'm gonna say, "Yo, he dropped that record and it went ballistic, or it just fucking shit the bed."
Right.
And that's how back then. That's how the marketing went. Because I remember. I don't think it. I mean, I think it was 50 Cent in the club when that started banging. I mean, my phone was ringing. Yo, you got that 50 joint? Yo, you got that? You got that? Okay, I got like limited amounts. And, I would go and, they would play it and fucking, the record would take off.
Right.
And it's funny because with the record pool, we broke a lot of records here in the South.
Right.
I mean, I got plaques on my wall to show album sales in the Southeast that I busted my ass to fucking promote, Yo,
you had that Chronic, man. That Chronic dropped during that Jam.
Yeah, we had we got the 2001 Chronic. I mean, that was a hot one. Even when Trick Daddy started, I mean, when Trick Daddy first came out, it took a slow beating, and eventually, when he dropped Nan, he just took off, along with Trina, along with the Yin Yang Twins. Go back to when I did my record pool meetings. Once every quarter, every 3 months, I would throw a record pool meeting, at Firestone or the Blue Room or wherever I could get into, and I would bring industry cats down. You know what I mean? And that was, I had TJ from TJ DJs coming down. I had Flow Rider come down. I had Pretty Ricky before he was Pretty Ricky, performing.
Right.
And plus I'm bringing, 30 or 40 DJs together to all, talk and, get free shit. And, I mean, that was my way of thanking them and saying, thank you for helping me break these records in Orlando. Right. Because nowadays, I mean, it's easier to break a record now. Put that shit on YouTube or Facebook and get 5 million likes, and now you have a fucking hit song.
Right.
Now that song's going to start being played in the club. You know what I mean? It's not like the Grassroots where I was downtown with picket signs with Big Pun on the fucking thing, or I was downtown with Fat Joe, or I was sniping in front of clubs putting up posters. You know what I mean?
But they're not organic likes. You just described organic likes. That meant you going out there shaking hands and kissing babies.
Oh, I had to take pictures.
You had to go out there.
I had to go out there and take pictures of people holding up, Fat Joe's Don Cartagena album with the poster or the picket sign. Big Pun, you know what I mean? Holding the stickers up. I had to do that. That was the grassroots of promotion back then.
Right.
Because back then the people on the streets were the ones going to the record stores and spending that money to buy Big Pun, 50 Cent, Fat Joe, Mobb Deep. I was blessed to actually work for Steve Rifkin. So all those Loud record artists.
Shout out to Loud Records.
I was blessed to actually have, when they came through Orlando, yo, we got Big Pun coming through. I need you to, come get this product and hit the club. I had to go. As soon as they called, I was like, all right, where you at? What hotel you at? I go get the product, go to the club, start setting it up. You know what I mean? And that's how I got to meet a lot of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's a great experience, but shit, you're talking back when I was 20 25. I can't do that shit now. I'm lucky if I get home and I can get to bed at 8 o'clock.
I heard that, man.
And wake up at 8 to go take my work.
Insomniacs, man. Figs on the check-in said I didn't want to DJ downtown because there was no money there. The money was in the hood, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah, back then, because downtown didn't want that style of music down there.
Right.
They wanted house music, or they wanted something else. But going towards the outer limits again, frat house. The Knights Pub, that fucking place has been around for, I don't know how long that fucking place has been there.
Right.
Remington's DJ there. I DJ'd there with two cats from UCF that started a night there. I DJ'd with them there. You had to go to the outskirts,
Right.
But once it became popularized, once those songs started getting played on the radio, then the nightclubs were like, hey, play a little bit of this and see what happens.
Right.
Now the radio's playing it. Now you got radio playing it. So now everybody's hearing it. So now, once radio gets a hold of a song, it's a wrap.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, back then, a lot of those artists weren't on rotation. Now you go in the fucking car, Cardi B's on every 15 fucking minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say it, but I walked downtown a month or so ago, and every single bar was playing nothing but trap music.
Right.
The Cardi B's and the Babies and all that stuff. Every single bar. There was no difference. The only place I actually heard good music, and I'm going to tell you this, a true fucking story, was on Wall Street. The DJ outside was actually playing, he wasn't playing the trap shit. He was actually playing an open format to where I was walking by, I went, oh shit, I'm going to go have a beer in here. But I'm talking about every little bar that I walk by at one point or another was playing fucking Cardi B or whoever, was hot back then. Or, a couple months ago, or actually pre-COVID, let me tell you that, pre-COVID.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Fig says the hood DJs break records.
It is true.
You already
it's true.
know that. I mean,
I'm
because,
not, that's a true fucking statement right there, because
right.
a lot of the Southern artists that we had to break, and like I said, big shout out to Disco. Disco would break the fuck out of those records.
Oh, of
Disco
course.
was the guy that would play the Silk the Shocker Down for My Niggas, and the fucking place would go ballistic.
Right.
You know what I mean? The Hootie Who's and all that Master P. That whole big time, the Big Timers run and the Master P. The Mia X. That was Disco breaking that shit down here.
Right.
That was nobody else was playing that. Disco
No.
was rocking the shit out of that stuff.
No, man. He
You
was
know what I
playing because you're alluding to another effect of the hip hop experience that we all were in. We were all in this school, and we see a bunch of this madness going on, and one of those madnesses that were going on was the division of the genres. So when we talk about genring music, this is one of them, because for a lot of disco fans, unless you grew up with disco, unless you've seen disco and knew about that wave, a lot of people were picking sides during that time. They were saying, okay, well, boom, that ain't hip hop. What he's playing, he playing that Ghetto Boys, he playing this, he playing that, and that other side was
My
I'm
Mind's
from New
Playing
York.
Tricks on Me is a classic.
No,
the
come on,
Loonies,
we
I got
know
5
that.
on it.
Right,
You
we
know what I mean?
know that, but there was a division based on where you were from. Meaning,
That's
if you
when-
were from New York, if you're from New York,
You were New
listening
York.
Right, you're listening to only New
That's
York.
when I think it became a north, south, east, west.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
talk
That's
about
when
it.
I think all of a sudden now you had the South, you had Texas, you had Louisiana,
Right.
you had all these places.
Yeah, Miami. Shit.
In Miami, you started like I said, Trick Daddy, Trina, all them cats.
Shout out
Start-
to Home Team. Home
Yes,
Team was the
pick
first
it up,
hip hop
pick it up.
group. Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So you started having the South come. Now you started having the North, you had the Midwest, you started having all these places.
Right.
So now you're getting a more eclectic genre of music. Now it's not no more
Right.
East and West. Now it's East Coast, West Coast, Dirty South, all that. So now you're having all this different type of music come up. You know what I mean? Now you're getting to the BPMs where you're getting to the 70s, the 80s BPMs. Now shit went from being the shiny suit puffy shit to being now it's okay, now we got UGK, now we got
Right.
Outkast. You know what I mean? And I think the first time I even thought hip hop was coming out of the South was, you know, I mean, when I heard Outkast, I was like, who the fuck is this? You know, their first album, I was like, oh shit, you know, this is a classic. Because if you listen to that album, there was, you know, Party Records, there was your rugged records, and then you had, you know, your smoothed out Southern playlist of Cadillac Music. You know, you had a genre. I was like, oh shit. Then came Goody Mob. You know, then all these groups started coming out of Atlanta, and I'm like, oh, okay, Atlanta's making Jermaine Dupri hits. You know what I mean?
Right. But that was during the same time that we had that move, that had that wave of 95 South, CC Lemonhead, and they were 69 Boys.
69 Boys.
So Atlanta was popping on multiple fronts during that time of music, and it was kind of like during that time, Outkast wasn't getting that play that they really wanted on that first album, which, like you said, that was a 5-mic album. That was like incredible. But they weren't getting the play that they did up until that second album. And
once again, like I said, once radio got a hold of the first, whatever, you know, I mean, I can't think of it right now, whatever the single was that came off that second album that made Outkast a household name. Right. Now, you go to the second album, you go to the third album. Now, once, you know, Bombs Over Baghdad hit, then they became a household name. And then they started winning
that was
MTV
album number
awards.
3, right? That was album number 3.
So now the popularity, now the white people over in, you know, were white people that didn't listen to that were like, oh shit, I like this song. Now they, you know, now they're going now. So now Outkast is going from that. Now they're going to the, you know, the Love Below album. You know, I mean, now he's doing his own stuff. So you see how, like, I want to say it, you know, in the nicest way I can. Popularity of a song is going to take you here. And, you know, I mean, it goes for as many songs as you can think of. You know, I mean, you go the Nene, you know what I mean? That shit up on fucking social media, now it became a popular song.
Shout out to Rex. He said elevators. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes. So, you know, I mean, you see how, and now again, early 2000s, we didn't have the internet now.
No, we didn't have that social media. We didn't have that YouTube.
2005 hit. You know, you got that dial-up modem. Now you're starting to explore LimeWire and having, you know, burning CDs. Right. You know, or going to the Magic Mall and getting that, you know, those CDs with them songs on it. You know, that you didn't have the vinyl of, that you had to play the CD of.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was a lot of outlets back then. But now everything, you know, with the internet, now you just, like I said, you log on your Club Killers or you log on to your franchise record pools and you download music. And again, like I said earlier, that's where I think Serato was a gift and a curse, you know, for the DJs. Right. Because you have cats like us that have been around that have, you know, sustainable, you know, and great names, to catch just walking up to the promoter and be like, yo, how much you paying this dude? Oh, I'm paying him blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'll do it for $50 and a $50 bar tab.
Right.
And I always said it, and I don't give I've said it to a bunch of people. You get what you pay for.
Right, absolutely.
In the end. Because that person is only there for two things. You just heard it. I'll do it for $50 and a bar tab. So now he's going to go to the bar, get shit-faced drunk, and the music's going to sound like shit.
Right.
And there have been a lot of things where I was like, you know what, fuck it. You want to use him, use him. You call me back in 5 months, you're not paying me this price.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I've had that happen before, to where somebody was like, oh, I'm going to just use him. Okay. 3 or 4 months down the line, I get a phone call. Hey, do you want to come DJ? What?
Right.
You didn't. What happened to the $75 DJ that you had? Oh, well, he wasn't playing this the right way, and
but
people were
what
complaining.
you're alluding to is like the equivalent or the analogy of outsourcing a real DJ for what they're able to afford, and there's a difference. A real DJ, you can't afford him, but you should be honored that y'all working together.
Now, you know, if you're a DJ. And, you know, like if you have a day job and you're making $60,000, $75,000 a year and you want to go DJ one night a week and, you know, for the fucking fun of it, you know, more power to you.
But that person's coming out of the love because he knows if he's getting paid, let's say $300, $400 to DJ a night, that's not enough. You know, when a DJ that loves what he's doing will fucking go off. Will be attentive to the crowd, will fucking do whatever he needs to do for whatever price of money. The DJ that's just glad to have a gig, we'll take the $50 fucking dollars.
Oh yeah,
We'll take
and,
the
you know, I mean, and the fucked up thing about it is now, you know, now he took that $50 gig. Now somebody else is coming in with the $50 gig. So now you're working 4 or 5 nights a week for $50 fucking dollars, killing yourself.
Right.
$250 a week.
Right.
It doesn't make any damn sense.
It doesn't, because
You know what I'm saying?
you're not getting quality. You're getting quantity. Anybody could be replaced for $25, $50.
Exactly. Or fucking, they could put a jukebox in there and fucking,
Right.
or just get their laptop out now, just stream somebody's mix on SoundCloud or whatever.
Right. And $300 isn't enough, or $400 isn't enough. But for a quality DJ that comes out and spends his time and knows what the fuck he's doing, he's gonna come out there, and yeah, the money's not an object to him because he's not DJing for the money. He's DJing because he loves.
It's for the love of the
fucking
music.
DJ,
You know,
and
it's for
he's
the-
gonna give you an experience that you will remember the rest of your life, versus somebody that's coming there for the money
when
DJs for money.
you know,
And they don't
I think one of the
understand
things.
that.
One of the
They
things
don't understand that. We say
No,
that
they don't.
about rap music. We
No.
say that about rappers. People that rap for money suck. The people that rap because they rap for real, they're the motherfuckers that are the legends, the people that you remember. And the same thing goes with DJs.
if you you know, I mean, if I would have known when I started doing nightclubs, you know, I mean, towards the end of the night, I had a lot of people that would come up to me and say, "Yo, I want to thank you for playing these songs or playing, you know, this song. It took me back to, you know, 1992 when I was living in my aunt's basement in New York." You know, what I mean, that's what I wanted. Now, when I do spots now, you know, what I mean, people know when they come to hear me or Caesar or some of the, you know, the older cats, you know, Night Train or Herm T, that you're going to hear those classic R&B joints. You're going to hear those classic hip hop joints.
Right.
You're not just going to get a whole night of ratchet fucking hip hop.
Right.
You know, me personally, I'll tell you, fuck you, I'm not playing it. If I do play it, it's going to be at the end of the night, but that's it. I'm going to hit you with those, you know, those classic joints, those Casanovas and the New Editions and the Nas and the Method Man and Mary J. Blige. I'm going to put you. I want to take you on a journey through music. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's basically what it is. You know what I mean? You're taking a person on a journey through music, whether or not you're playing, you know, Journey. You start off and then you start going to, you know, Bombs Over Baghdad or wherever the fuck you're going to go with it. You take people on a journey. Now, you know what I mean? I recently started doing the Swingers Club in Kissimmee. That is probably one of the hardest fucking crowds I've ever had a DJ for. Because you don't have, it's not just young people. You have everything from 21 to 76.
Oh,
so,
wow.
you know what I mean? Like when I do the pool parties, I have to play 80s, 70s, disco, funk, you know, and it's really cool because I see people's faces, you know, enjoying themselves and singing along to Rick James, Mary Jane. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't. They look at me and you know, I play Sam Hunt, Body Like a Back Road. Fucking pool goes ballistic. People are dancing and singing. My wife is fucking having a time of her life. You know what I mean? I've actually, you know, I've said this before on Facebook. You know what I mean? But I was never a big country person up until probably about a year ago.
Right.
Because the music actually has a meaning to it. First of all, and it's, you know, I mean, it back in the early 90s, hip hop had a meaning. You were telling a story. You were, you know, you had your Slick Ricks, you had your Chub Rocks, you know, through hip hop you were telling a story. And then I think somewhere after 2000, you know, late 2000, 2010, 2011, it just lost that whole storytelling ability. Right. You know what I mean? Even when you go back to, you know, I mean, just an example, like I just saw the video the other day, when you go back to watching Method Man and Mary J. Blige, you know, You're All I Need. Watch that video. Watch the storytelling in the video. Watch Children's Story. Watch Shook Ones. You know what I'm saying? Watch, you know, some of Big Pun stuff and Fat Joe stuff early on. You're going to see the storytelling. I think somewhere around 2010, we just fucking lost it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just went from no storytelling just to having a catchy hook and a fucking 60 BPM song. Now you have a hit on your hands. Now you just you're a viral sensation on Facebook and YouTube, and you know what I mean. And you could agree with me on this one. You know, your Old Town Road, your fucking Nene, you know what I mean. Those fucking songs took off because of social media. We didn't have that back in the early 2000s, mid 90s. We didn't have social media. Social media was me walking downtown with a fucking picket sign, handing out cassette tapes and snippet tapes of upcoming artists coming out.
Right, going
That
to
was our social
Kinko's
media.
and pressing up some fucking flyers. Talk about it.
You know, I mean, that too. You know what I mean? You know, Jesse Jazz, big shout out to Jesse Jazz, because he was back then, he was the flyer man.
He was the
You
flyer,
went to
bro.
Jesse to get your flyers done.
Yes.
You know, and oh shit, you're gonna have I need 5,000 flyers by Friday because the weekend's gonna be popping.
Right.
You know, especially
'Cause you
Memorial
just-
Day.
'cause
Memorial
you
Day
just got
weekend
the
trying to get a
gig on
flyer.
Thursday. You just got the gig on Thursday. They just fucking said they'll do it.
Trying to do something on Memorial Day and get flyers done. If you were that person that waited to like 2 or 3 weeks before, Jesse would tell you, get the fuck out of here. I can't. No, you know what I mean? Because Memorial Day weekend, classic weekend. You know what I mean? He's busy as shit. But you would see his flyers. Now you go back to the early mid 90s when they were doing Lebanese Club. You was at the Florida Mall, and you know Caesar, Khaled, and Nasir in there handing out those graffiti flyers.
Right.
You know, little pink, whatever color they chose, pink, green, yellow, purple, with the I think it was Neil that did the flyers for them sometimes.
Right.
But it was just graffitied, and it said, "Hey, hip hop at the Lebanese Club," with little figures and all this shit. And you walk out to your car and be like, "Oh shit, yo, they doing the party over at the Lebanese Club this weekend," and you know you were going.
Right.
And that's, again, like I said, at that point, now they have a lion wrapped around the fucking, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just guys, it was girls and guys, you know?
Shout out to Errol on the check-in, man. My brother Errol says taking $50 gigs screws the market for everyone. And
It does, because now anybody can go to Best Buy, go buy a $300 laptop, go buy a controller for $300,
Right.
and now undercut the cats that have been in the game. That it's not only, like you said before, it's not only that, you know, I mean, we're just doing it because, you know, we want to make money, but we also want to do it because we love music. Now it's just that dude that just got all this shit. Now he has a little controller and a little laptop, and he downloaded the top 100 Billboard songs of 2000 or for the month, and he's playing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That there's like, that's one thing that really ifs the shit out of me is when I go to a club, and I'm, you know, even I've gone to some clubs that, you know, I mean, I just was in there for the hell of it, and I all of a sudden at 11 o'clock they played, you know, I mean, the DJ came out and started playing all the bangers. So now when the DJ that you actually came to hear at 1 o'clock comes on, you know, that person took all the bangers, and now, you know, you're kind of going, fuck. And it's happened to me before. You know what I mean? Cats before me, okay, you know, all right, you're going to DJ, okay. And then I completely flip it on them. All right, you played all those bangers that I was going to play. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip it on you, and I'm going to play this and watch the crowd's reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's all about being, you could play, you know what I mean? You could play all your top 10 songs in a fucking row, but what are you going to do in an hour? Or what are you going to do at that 12 o'clock mark? Or what are you going to do at that 1 o'clock mark? Is the bar making any money?
What
You know
what
what I'm
you're
saying?
alluding to is musical history, man. And it's similar to musical theory, because for a DJ, the more history you have in music, the more you can play. When people have a very limited idea on what music is, and they go off straight Billboard charts,
And that's
meaning
what, you know what I mean, a lot of cats
the
do.
top 100 songs I'm going to play, and I mean that doesn't allow you to play an entire night. And
No.
shout out.
Are you going to hear that? Are you going to hear that song about 3 times in the night? Probably.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
'Cause
shout out to everyone that knows about DJing in Florida in general. You normally are DJing with several people. Normally outside of Orlando, outside of Florida in general, it's one DJ. And you gotta go out there and slam.
I'm not
the
a big
damn
fan
session.
of having 5 or 6 DJs on a ticket during the
Right.
night, because
Right.
you know what I mean,
Right.
when you do that, now especially during the nighttime at a nightclub, now you're competing for that limelight spot. Everybody, when a DJ comes on, they want to shine. Okay, so the first DJ comes on and bangs out all the bangers. What's that going to leave the second, third, fourth, and fifth guys?
Right.
So now you're in a rotation to hear that WAP song 4 fucking times in 3 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're and you know what I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of talented cats out there, and I respect those cats that actually took the time to learn on turntables and not just didn't jump on a fucking controller.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, funny story, going back when I used to work at Parliament House. They were doing an old 80s night. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to bring the turntables out. You know, it's an 80s vibe. So I'm going to bring the turntables out. All right, I got my laptop still, blah, 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 blah. I'm still using Serato. They had another DJ coming on, which they never told me that he was playing where I was playing and going to use my equipment. So the guy shows up, and I forgot what his name was, but he shows up and he goes, what's this? And now he sees 2 turntables and a mixer.
Right.
And he looks at me and goes, "Where are the CDJs?" The fuck? It's an 80s night. We're doing Serato. He goes, "Well, I have my thumb drive." I was like, "Well, motherfucker, there's no place to stick that thumb drive over here, so you might as well go somewhere else." And I think he had to go play in another room. But again, the point I'm trying to make is nowadays, if you stuck a pair of turntables and stuck 3 pieces of vinyl on it and said, "Here, mix this," I'd say 75% of the DJs can't fucking do it.
Right.
Those cats that just decided to go out and get the controller would not know what to do if you slapped a set of turntables in front of them and slapped a crate of vinyl. They'd be like, "What the fuck?" You know, and it just amazes me that, you know, if you want to consider yourself a DJ, I would have more respect for you if you learned the correct way and graduated like we did. We went through carrying the crates of records to the club.
All day.
You know, we did that whole CD book thing for CDJs.
Yes.
Serato came out, you know, I think, you know, I mean, I've always said this to my wife. I've told him, I think Serato should have been like, "Okay, you got your certificate, now you can get Serato, and now you can learn how to do it." It should have been one of those. That's just my take on it. You know, people are going to hate and disagree, but that's just my take on it. Because, you know what I mean, you could pick up, anybody can learn on the controllers, but you slap a pair of tables in front of them, there's no way.
Right.
No way in fucking hell. And that just showed, when that dude did that, I went, and I'm still using Serato, so I'm thinking this dude's going to show up with his laptop and just plug in and we're going to go.
Right.
No, he just kind of just, like a deer in fucking headlights, I swear to God. He was...
Wow. What the funny part is, I mean, and we're talking DJ shit for all my DJs out there that
and again, some people are going to disagree with me, some people are
Right.
going to agree with me, but you know, I mean, that's just the way I feel. That's just my...
At the end of the day,
that's just my opinion of it.
right.
You know what I mean? And
But
like
when
I
it
said,
comes to
don't get
that
me wrong, because there's a lot of talented cats out there that learned, and they, you know, I mean, they said, "Fuck it, I'm going to take my time to learn on a pair of turntables."
You're
And then
only
I'm gonna-
as good as your musical history. That's the only thing that's different from being an MC. Like an MC has to recall words and thoughts and sentences and paraphrases.
Shit,
but
not
a
no more.
DJ has to recall histories of music. And the farther you can go back, and the farther your knowledge is with all the genres of music, what would go with this? What would go with this? That tells anyone else how long you can DJ. If all you know is 2000 from here to 2010, well, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to only be DJing for an hour, because, you know, you could probably go back 10 years and one person may come up with about 40 minutes of music. But for someone like me and you, we go back all the way to fucking 70s around.
I'll blaze
60s.
through the 2010 to 2020 in 45 fucking minutes.
Right, you already know.
You know what I'm saying?
You already
and that's,
know.
You know, that's another thing. And like I said, there's a lot of DJs. You know, I mean, like Nasty was the one that showed me how, and Caesar and them showed me how to do the quick mixing. You know what I mean?
Quick mix. No. You said it, bro. That's a Florida thing. It's actually, dude, growing up DJing, when I heard quick mixing, I was like, this is the fucking move. And I've traveled the U.S., and I've yet to hear any quick mixing the way Florida does it, the way Orlando does it.
You got to think of it like this. As a person, as me and you worked in nightclubs,
Right.
What is the typical person's attention span in a club?
Right. You already know.
You want to hear a song up until that certain drop or that certain verse, and then you're going to mix out of it, because
Right.
a person's attention span in a club is,
You
oh
already
shit, he's
know.
playing I Just Want to Love You. Now, you know, after being a DJ, after the first chorus, you're mixing out of it because he's
Out.
already said the hot shit.
Right.
Now you're going to, you know, go into something else. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or, you know what I mean? I like to do, when I DJ, I like to do, you know, I don't know if it's word, I don't want to say wordplay stuff, but original samples to the hip hop
Right.
song.
Come on,
You know what I
man.
mean?
You already know that's hip hop.
You know, I'll do the crisscross jump, and then I'll go with the Jackson 5. You know what I mean?
Right. Come on, man.
I'll find that Barry Caldwell record with the light and mix in Common's
Right.
joint.
Common. Yo.
You know, and that's where I think a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, like one of my favorite DJs is Jazzy Jeff. Like when he does his house parties,
Right.
I watch him, and it's a blast to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I've been a fan of his since, you know, Parents Just Don't Understand and Nightmare on My Street to
Right.
today. Shit, he's older than me, probably about 5 years, and he's still doing his thing and still one of the top DJs in the U.S.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I've heard people say, well, I watched him, but he didn't really play. No, you didn't give it time. He does play the fucking, you know, the trap songs, but he'll play it in his way.
Jazzy Jeff.
He plays it his
knows
way.
how to fucking play music. He just
And
plays music.
It's
not
really
a
funny
genre.
because I on his website at one point, you know what I mean, he did an interview with somebody, and it's always stuck in my head. When I DJ, he said, I don't want to, he goes, shit, I can't remember how it went, but it went to the tune of, you know what I mean, when you hear me, I'm taking you on a musical journey, but I want to make you a fan.
Right.
I want to make you a fan. And now I took that and it stuck with me because take, for instance, when Haven was open.
Right. Shout
And
out
we're
to
doing
the
a hip hop
Haven.
night.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It took almost a year or 6 months before it actually popped off, but the clientele we were getting was that knowledgeable crowd that knew they were going to come and they were going to hear Mobb Deep, or they were going to hear Method Man, or they were going to hear some reggae and soca, and
Right.
you know what I mean? You know, like one of my favorite things to do with my wife is, you know, when that was going on, was Sunday Funday at Arrow with Remington and Bernard and Lemmy Curry. You know, big shout out to Lemmy Curry.
Shout out to Remington. Let's go.
And shout out to Remington, because, you know what I mean, I know, being friends with, you know, especially me and Remington have been friends for over 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
You know, and I know his style, so I know I'm going to go and enjoy, or even Livewire. You know, I know I'm going to enjoy his set. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the biggest things. Like when they ask me to DJ there, I love to do it because they don't give a fuck what I play.
Right.
There's no, you know, I mean, I play country music. I got Lemmy dancing behind the fucking bar at Arrow, having the best time of his life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. You know what I mean?
And
You
part,
have to understand.
and to your point, I just want to dovetail on your point. Part of being at this age where I am right now, it comes with a certain freedom. I'm not worried about, you know.
I think we did
doing certain things. Right.
we did our time of being told what not to play. So now it's
Right.
fuck you. I'm going to play what I want to play.
Fuck you.
I'm not going to work for somebody that's going
Right.
to tell me, you know what I mean, I need you to play this. No, fuck you. I'm not playing trap music all fucking night long.
No.
Not going to do it. You-
But that's not a. That's
Go
not
get
a,
the $50 DJ with the top 100 Billboard charts on his laptop, and you could
right.
pay him $50.
But
to do that
nobody would
bullshit.
go watch a movie where it's just violence. Nobody goes to watch a movie where it's just fucking kissing. That's called a porn. Nobody watches a movie that's one just thing. They go to that movie because there's all kinds of things within that movie, and that's the equivalent of DJing. When you're
But I think
when you're playing music,
when people,
you're
like-
you're playing everything. You're telling a story.
you know what I mean, like I just turned 46, you know what I mean? So it's fun to go out and see people dressed up in their sundresses,
Right.
not with their fucking pants hanging off their ass.
Right.
Going to see women dressed up in their you know what I mean, for a Sunday fun day party. You know what I mean? This ain't fucking Saturday night at the club where you got, you know what I mean, you're coming in with a wife beater on and fucking your pants half. No. This, you know what I mean, I'm going for the classy part.
Right.
I'm going for the part to where these women are dressed up. They've spent $100, $200 on their outfits, and that's the vibe a lot of places go for. Sometimes it's quality over quantity. I always say that.
Right.
You could have 500 people in the club, but they ain't spending no money. But you have 250 quality. You're
they
making a
bought
lot
the
of money.
bar. Right, and
exactly.
they bought the bar.
You got your bottle drinkers. You got your bottle poppers. You got, you know what I mean, your people that are going to come out with 4 of their friends the next time and sit in the VIP booth and now buy 3 bottles the next night.
Figure
You know, I learned that a long time ago because I was worried more about packing the place out, having 500 people in there, and now I'm learning that shit, 250 people spread the word even quicker. It takes a little bit, you know. Just an example, like I said, at Haven, Friday nights our numbers, you know, weren't the greatest, but we were doing anywhere from 25 to $4 grand.
Right.
The fucking Latin night that had 400 and something people in it, they're beating us by like $500 or $1,000 every week.
Right.
When we have 500 and something people in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, holy shit. You know, so I sat back and I, you know, talked to customers. You know, big shout out to D-Rock because he used to be my, you know, he was my MC. And, you know, we used to talk to people. And we used to get that. People knew on the east side of Orlando that you were going to get that New York vibe, whether it would be hip-hop, freestyle, reggae,
Right.
soca. You knew, you know what I mean, you were going to get that on that side of town. You know,
Right.
unfortunately, you know, things happen and the club, you know, just basically disappeared overnight. You know what I mean? And it was a shock to everybody because now nobody on the east side had a place to go to.
Well, that's what clubs do. They're in for a minute.
Literally, you know, I mean, I say that literally because we rocked the Friday and Saturday night. Next thing I know, Monday, you know, I'm being told we're not open. The doors, we're closed.
Right, and that's
fuck?
that's the background of clubs.
We don't get like a 2 week, you know, notice to, you know, try to see what we could do. Nope, I'm shutting this shit down.
All right, before we go light real quick, because we went heavy on the DJing.
Yes.
I just want my audience to know how important and how historic you are to the city of Orlando. We're going to talk about Pulse real quick and what it was like and how did you get into that Pulse situation from the door and how did it lead up to that fateful night at Pulse Lounge?
All right, so to put it in a quick perspective.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that knows me, I originally at Firestone, when Firestone, the owner, decided to go, he was gay. He decided he wanted to make it a gay nightclub every day of the week. So the hip hop night stopped, the Latin night stopped, a lot of stuff stopped, but he still wanted to keep me playing hip hop in the den. That's what we used to call it, was the den. From there, I caught the attention of some people at a club called Revolution. Which is now Southern Nights. Originally it was Southern Nights, but now it's back to Southern Nights on Bumby and the 408. Was asked to come in there and do a set, and they actually saw the reaction to real like hip hop music. And I was asked to do their Saturday nights, which was their lesbian night outside on the patio, which, you know, I mean, I'm not going to turn that down. And from there, it just went to, I got scouted to work at Parliament House and work at Pulse. Pulse was more of a move of a promoter wanted me to DJ a Saturday night there, and I was kind of stuck between Revolution and, you know, going there. You know, behind the scenes, a lot of stuff kind of went down, and the club, the owner basically shut the club down. So I said a couple weeks before, I said, look, I'm getting off this boat before it sinks. I was welcomed to Pulse with open arms. Started doing a Saturday night there, and then it kind of took off to doing a Tuesday night with Axel, and, you know, I mean, working on a Friday night on the patio or in the side room, whichever room it was. You know, I mean, I got a lot of flack from, you know, I'm not going to mention any names, but a lot of flack from, you know, other DJs like, yo, how you work in a gay club? Motherfucker, I don't give a fuck if they're gay, straight, pink, purple, red, black. I don't care. I don't judge people. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, I mean, and you're going back to shit when Firestone first did it. It had to be in the like 90 or 2005, I think, is when he tried that whole thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't care. If you enjoy music, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm not I have a lot of gay friends. So does my wife. We love everybody. You know what I mean?
Right,
and
right.
Pulse was a place where you can go and be yourself, whether you're a gay, straight, or you were just a girlfriend of one of your gay friends that wanted to go to the club and not get groped on and not get grabbed because you just went downtown to a club that had 500 guys and 10 girls.
Right.
And I was told that a lot.
And a lot of people did that. They would go to the clubs that wouldn't be harassing them.
They would go to the gay club with their gay friend because they knew they were going to have a good time.
Right.
And they weren't going to get accosted or grabbed or groped walking to the bathroom.
Which was an ongoing thing. If you went to any club in Orlando, that was part of the experience. You knew
Yes.
you're going to get, you know, let me holler at you, let me holler at you, let me grab you.
Hey, baby,
Right,
let me
right.
hot you.
All
You know what I
day
mean?
long.
All day long.
All
So-
the way to the parking lot, all the way to the club.
So
No.
when the gay clubs were, you know, Parliament House, Pulse, and Southern Nights, you know, I mean, when they started coming around, a lot of people were like, "Hey, don't get me wrong. You could ask my wife this. When I first started working the gay nights at Firestone, I was a little uncomfortable, but after meeting a lot of people, you know, they became really good friends of mine. And once, you know, I mean, people had the whole stigma, oh, it's a gay club, they're gonna grab. No, you know, the shit you see on TV is not what actually happens. You know what I'm saying? That's what people have the stigma of a gay club. You know, shit, for the longest time, me and my wife would actually go to the gay clubs to go out because we had a good time. Fuck the places downtown. We would go to Pulse, or I go to Parliament House, or I go to Revolution, just because we knew we were going to have a good time. And a lot of our friends started coming along with us. And they were like, wow, this is completely total. I had bikers fucking bikers, Hell's Angels, and all these different bikers coming to a gay club on a Wednesday night, having the greatest time of their lives. You know what I mean?
Talk about it.
So, you know what I mean? If a fucking biker group can come to a gay club and enjoy the night, not get any bullshit, not start anything, and come in and have a great night, you know what I mean? It's a win for everybody. And it just goes to show that it's not just, you know what I mean? I told my wife this a long time ago, and I told a lot of DJs too. I said, you don't realize that how many single women are inside of a gay nightclub.
Right.
When you go, you're not just going to see guys, you're going to see a lot of women. And, you know, some of those women are gay and some of those women are straight because they came out with their gay friend that they knew they were going to have a good time and have a party. And so now for the single male that's there that's not gay, it's like a smorgasbord.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now you're going to meet some new people, have some fun, do whatever you're going to do, and just, you know, live life to the fullest and enjoy the music. It was all about the music.
And you just said something that's so true because it's not like gay people do not try to get with people. They still do. It's just not as
but it's done in a respectful way.
Right. It's not as animalistic as it can be.
As you've seen back in like maybe those old 80s and 90s
the
fucking
old bad days, yeah.
Commercials and shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
People have respect now. You know what I mean?
No,
I was hit on a lot. I said, you know, I'm sorry, I appreciate you, but I'm married. You know, this is my wife. Now, the funniest part about that is now my wife is best friends with that person to this day. You know what I mean? So it's not. It's like I said. I've always said this. I don't give a fuck if you're white, black, pink, purple, green, Asian, Puerto Rican. I don't give a fuck. You show me love, I show you love.
DJ
and it was
Quest
nothing but love.
He said,
oh shit, y'all? DJ Quest.
Yeah.
Now me and him had some. He used to work with me at Firestone in the little room. Me and him had some wild ass fun in that fucking room. That to this day, you know, big shout out to Quest because you know Quest left and he went over to and is now a big DJ on the radio. You know what I mean? I always had love for him. 007, same thing. You know what I mean? I used to rock out with him. But you know, I'm not a hater. I don't hate nobody. You know, I don't give a fuck. Like I said, I love everybody. And Pulse was one of those clubs where that was a staple in the community, and it was also a place for nothing but love.
Right. Now,
you know what I mean?
I just want to kind of guide the conversation real quick. How did we get to that fateful night? Where were you at, and how did that whole thing get down, and how did you feel about that entire situation? Once it was going
you know, just to make it a quick thing, you know, I mean, that was the Saturday Latin night, which, you know, always had a big crowd. We had 3 rooms: main room, salsa, merengue, bachata; side room, you know, was newer hip hop and house, and then I would play nothing but like old school on the patio. So you get old school hip hop, old school freestyle, bass, whatever you wanted to hear. You know, unfortunately that night it was the decision of one man that came in there and you know killed everybody. You know, the 49 people that passed. It was the decision of one person. You know, I mean, you go back and you look at the news stories, you see, you know, he was looking at Parliament House. He was looking at, you know, places in Disney. But he unfortunately chose that place at that time, at that night.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's something that I wish nobody would ever go through. And again, you know, I mean, having a good support system with my wife and friends and you know, the gay community was one of those things that, you know, I mean, that helped me get through that time.
How long did it take you to kind of, I'm not going to say get over it, but
you never,
just
first
get
of all,
to a space in which you could function and get back into.
I want to say it was probably like a good month because you got to understand, like a lot of my equipment and my laptop was gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? It either got trampled or got fucked up or sat outside.
I did not know that. Yeah, I did not.
Yeah, because when I left everything behind.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if the FBI had our stuff for, Jesus, probably like 2 months before we started getting some little stuff back here and there. You know, I thank God that I had, you know, I mean, the company Electro Magic and, you know, a bunch of DJs that, came through and helped me, promo only. The parent company of that of Electro Magic, they really came through and reached out to their people to get me a new controller, to get me a new laptop, to get me wires and DJ bags and stuff like that. And I've always said, I appreciate everybody that helped me get back to doing what I love. And like I said, it's one of those things where that happens, and unfortunately for me, it was a reminder every day for almost 3 months that my picture popped up on a picture of me and my wife would pop up on Yahoo or pop up on the news, I
remember I was in Kansas City and I seen you, and I was like, "That's fucking Ray." And
don't get me wrong, I did a couple of interviews, but that was it.
Right.
After that, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to tell my story to 15 different places.
Right.
It's online. You want to go see it, But getting back to working, it was one of those things where it took about a month and a half before I went back, because now I'm going into venues looking at where the fuck are the exit doors.
And let me dovetail off of that, because if you grew up a hip hop DJ, especially DJing in the hood, these are things that you had to know anyway. How to get the fuck out if some shit breaks out, because a lot of the parties growing up back in those days sometimes led to shootouts.
Yeah.
Somebody
You're
getting
correct.
shot and you having to end the music, get the fuck out of there. And these things, had you not maybe have grown up with that and probably seen that, or at least seen it, you might have not been able to deal with that situation without having that kind of maybe in the back of your mind. I need to get out of here. I'll figure this out. I'm gonna survive this.
But
a lot of people go through that, going to hip hop clubs back in the days, even right now.
You had your here's the thing, and I'm gonna be dead honest. Usually before, going back to that point, it was usually stuff that happened in the parking lot. JJ Whispers,
true,
Breakfast Club. It was stuff that happened in the parking lot. Nobody back then carried a fucking assault rifle into a club, knowing that is going to take out, his whole plan was to take out as many people as he could.
Right.
And that's what he and unfortunately that's what happened. And it's one of those things to where, it happened. I don't wish it upon anybody.
Fuck him on everything. How about that?
Yeah. So I don't, and like I said, to this day, I'm still friends with everybody that was at Pulse. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Certain gay nightclubs decided to go in a different way. And I get a phone call every once in a while to say, hey, we're doing like an 80s and 90s night. Okay, well, you come. Yeah, I don't mind coming back. There's certain people that I will work with, and there's certain people I won't work with.
Well, shout out to all my brethren out there that believe that music is the fucking elixir to bring all of us together. It doesn't matter what your background is, what you're fucking doing sexually. Music is fucking music. And
music, it can tame everybody. Right. Everybody has their taste in music,
Right.
Like I said, when I was growing up, before I, got into DJing, I was a skater. I used to listen to Violent Femmes. I used to listen to The Cure. I used to listen to, I was listening to Jam Pony back in those days. You know what I mean? So, I think that kind of took me on a journey to, I was listening to, like I said, Jam Pony. And then I would listen to
Jam Pony. Let's go.
I would listen to Violent Femmes.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would listen to, early Red Hot Chili Pepper stuff and The Cure, Depeche Mode. You know what I mean? It was good music. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. You know what I mean? Those are classic fucking albums to this day.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Is the shit.
Now you had your friends back in the day was like, what the fuck you listen to, bitch? I'm listening to Violent Femmes. Fuck you.
Right.
I don't give a fuck about you.
But that's where the line is drawn. Music is the fucking common ground. People that are gay listen to hip hop too. People that are gay listen to freestyle too. People, we all listen to music. And
it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter what your background, what you're doing is. People shouldn't be in your fucking business any goddamn way to be trying to study what the fuck we're doing.
You know what I mean? Like I've said this before. When you came in the club, it was at 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock or 2:30 in the morning. It was for you to come in the club and just forget about everything and listen to good music. That's
Shout
all.
out to Ricky on the check-in. Jam Pony Express. You already know, bro. You already know.
So I mean, it was one of those things to where you went, if you put it like this, if you were having a fight with your girl or a fight at your job, you're hating your job, and you came to Pulse, you came at 10 o'clock till 2:30. You came to forget about everything.
Right.
Have a couple drinks, hang out with your friends, listen to good music, and that's what it was.
Shout out to DJ Quest. He said, I went back to Old Town on the low and drove by the Pulse, and y'all were in my thoughts, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And see, like I said, me and Quest, we go back because he used to rock with me in that little room at Firestone. So we go back to when we did vinyl, and we go back to going to back. It's a funny story. He tells it all the time. And when we got caught stealing crates from the back of Publix, those black milk crates was like
come on,
fucking
man. You
gold.
already know, man. It's gold.
One night we left Firestone, and I happened to take a shortcut, and we were driving down that road, and all of a sudden we see stacks of them. And I said, all right, I'm going to pull over, lift up the hatch. Now, I'm driving a 1983 fucking Honda Accord that has a smashed rear end and fucking vinyl in it. I said, look, go up and grab like 4 each, and we'll just throw them in the car. I go up, I grab mine, I get them in the car. I'm looking at him. All of a sudden, he's up there grabbing them, and the door opens. And he just free. And he knows. He just kind of froze and said, do you mind if I have a couple of these? The guy said, man, get the fuck out of here. And, I mean, it's a funny story, but, big ups to Quest, because, like I said, he's doing big things. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you know what? And I never told you this, man, but I'm proud of you, man, because you came a long way. I remember your origins. I know where you came from. I know how you got started, and to see you survive that craziness and still keep doing what you're doing. I mean, that's what our city is a fucking about. When I tell my story, I know all these motherfuckers that I know.
It was amazing to me.
Story.
It was really amazing because, like, if you go, and I'm gonna be dead honest with you, if you go back to before this happened, Orlando was kind of, your gay clubs were all on the outskirts of town. I mean, you had Parliament House up there on OBT. You had Pulse down Orange Avenue. You had Southern Nights over here. There was nothing downtown, and I mean, people didn't. How do I say this? You didn't have that camaraderie. And after Pulse happened, and the way all of Orlando came together, blew my fucking mind. What I mean? People I expected that didn't like gay people or whatever. After all that happened, everybody, all of it went out the window. It was like, yo, we're all family. Everybody, you're my brother, you're my sister. Whether you're pink, purple, black, white, Asian, Puerto Rican, it doesn't matter. One love, one Orlando. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was amazing to me when that happened because I was like this. Wow. Everybody's. It doesn't. People dressed in drag are talking to certain people that you would not think that they. You would. And before that would happen, you would look and go, huh? Now now it's the norm. Right. You know what I mean? And like I said, I was proud of Orlando coming together after that happened, and everybody showing love. That was what it was about.
Shouts out to my city of Orlando, the city beautiful. Too bad it takes a fucking tragedy for all of us to come together. But like I said, bro, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I was living in Kansas City. I saw you on TV. I knew that was you. And I was like, damn, he was there. And it made sense to me because I knew you well enough that I knew that's what you would be doing anyway. You'd be in one of those spots. And the funny story about that is I was wondering where the fuck Pulse nightclub was. Come to find out, I performed with my group The Few at the place that it was prior to Pulse. It was an Italian restaurant.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And I performed there, and I was like, damn, I know this place from fucking somewhere. And it wound up being the same place. And I'm like, wow. It just,
when I was scouted,
when
I was scouted to come over to Pulse, when the person that I met that actually wanted me to come over, you know, he came up straight up to me. He goes, you know, you would be, you know, fabulous on one of on our new Saturday night coming up, because I played old school on Saturdays. You know, I would do my old school set. I'd play the Britney Spears. I would play, you know, the Spice Girls, but I would mix it up and play, you know, the Outkast and this and that. And he goes, that's the format we're looking for.
Right.
So when, you know, I mean, I wasn't. It didn't matter that I was straight. You know, when they asked me, "Are you gay?" No, I'm straight. I'm married. You know, I got kids. There's my wife right there, and they were best fucking friends.
Right.
You know, so I went over there being scouted off music, than just me personally. Now, once I got over there and I got to meet everybody, they welcomed me with open arms.
Look, I know we live in a fucking world. I'm gonna just say it. I know we live in a fucking world where, for some reason, someone said, and I don't know when that fucking happened, that certain people that don't love certain people like they think they love them, you know, they only listen to this, and these people over here, they only listen to this. All of that shit is bullshit.
Yes.
Music and hip-hop is the fucking one fucking thing that brings us all together. And when you fucking eliminate music from the equation, there is no fucking union. There is no bond.
No. It's, you know what I mean? And music is that thing that will bring people together. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, whoever thought that there would be, you know, people that like country inside of a hip hop club?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, or people that like rock music inside of a, a club.
To your earlier point, you said something about country, right? I'm in Kansas City. Shout out to all my Kansas City people. You know, and I'm there, and I'm this hip hop guy, but there's a lot of people that listen to country. So what do? Do I just say I don't fuck with country and I'm not gonna listen to that shit, or am I gonna play it because these people that love my hip hop want me to play some country for them? Mm-hmm. When you live a life thinking that, nah, fuck that, I'm not gonna do that because I'm gotta do.
Don't get me wrong. Towards you know, I mean, at the beginning, that's the
way of living.
It is, but you know, I mean, when I first started doing clubs, that's the way I was. I was only a hip hop guy, hip hop, R&B, and reggae.
Of course, but that's not the way you want to live forever.
No. But you know, hell no. And you know, like I said, now I will play fucking country. I will play. You know, I mean, I will play the Sam Hunt. I will play the Florida Georgia Line. I will play.
Yeah, if I'm playing
Kane
a wedding,
Brown. You know what I mean? Because it's good fucking music and people enjoy it. Now it really depends. You know what I mean? Like Mr. Matter of fact, I just spoke with him the other day in email. Mr. Collie Park used to be the DJ for the Ying Yang Twins. He does some phenomenal remixes of country, which, you know what I mean, I play those on my pool parties and people love them.
Right.
Yeah, that's a way to introduce people to, you know what I mean, you put that 808 kick drum behind a country song.
Boom.
What the fuck is that? What? That's country, but it got a twerk appeal to it, you know what I mean? And
you
people
said
like,
something earlier about Jazzy Jeff. You said he'll play trap, but he'll play it his own way. It's not that you're playing something that's not of your own. If you're going to play it, you're going to at least say, okay, well, I'm going to play it this way, and I hope you like it, because that's a part of me. As a DJ, it's your responsibility to learn all music, because part of DJing is to make people happy.
Exactly.
If you're not in the business of making people happy, why the fuck are you DJing?
You hear. Exactly. Now, you know what I mean, and I always say this take on it. Why would you, and don't get me wrong, it's happened to you, it's happened to me, it's happened to Nasty, you know, you're going to get those people that are going to come up to you and say, are you going to play WAP anytime soon? Or are you going to play?
We're not talking about that. We're talking about if someone said, hey, I would love it. You're DJing my wedding or quinceañero or whatever. Mm-hmm. Hey, can you play a little bit of country or whatever? Something that you're not accustomed to playing. Can you play that during your set? Because that would make my experience that much greater. Because I love what you do, but I want you to play some extra stuff.
Exactly. Like, you know, you're going to look at that. You're going to look in Serato and go, "Do I have any country? Oh, this one fits the where I'm at right now. So let me try it."
Right.
And then, you know, I mean, that takes a lot of. I have certain remixes of '80s songs that are bangers. You know what I mean? That I will play, and people go, "Damn, that was a nice remix to Tears for Fears," or that's a nice Kane Brown remix for country.
Right.
It may not be what you want to hear right then and there, but I have other people that want to hear that. You know what I mean? Again, like I said, I get the people. Are you going to play WAP anytime? Yeah, I'll get to it in a little bit.
Yo,
you got to play it.
Shout out to Demp. He said you got to play it, just like
you got to play it. You know what I mean?
Bro.
but you do it in the way you want to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether you want to play an up-tempo remix of it, or you want to play a trap remix of it, or somebody may do a dubstep flip to it, that's how you do it, how you introduce it to the crowd.
Let me pose this to you before we get into something like, are you going to agree with me when I say, as a DJ, you're an artist? You're an artist, right? Okay, so as an artist, yes, you might do an impression, you might do a cover of a particular painting, but that painting's still gonna describe who you are. It's not gonna be an actual cover or copy of that particular painting. You're just gonna do it in your own way, and that's what makes DJs dope, because they can play
now.
You could play reggae. You ain't from Jamaica, but you could play the fuck out of some reggae. I know that.
You play. You know what I mean? Like, and that, you know, what I mean, you like Afro beats. You know, that was a really popular genre for the last.
But you play the fuck.
I will play the fuck out of it because it's actually pretty fucking good, and I enjoy it.
Right.
You know, what I mean, going back to what you were talking about, there are people, and this is what you know, what I mean, this happened to me a lot. People, you could have a room of say 50 people. Just going to use it as an example.
Okay.
You go on and you do you as a DJ.
Right.
I do like me. You do you. Nasty Caesar do. When at the end of the night, and you have 4 to 5 people come up to you and say, you know what, I had the best birthday. I enjoyed the music. You made my night.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
We did what we needed to do, and we now have, again, like I said, we have fans. So next week when they come, they're going to bring some other people. They're going to tell them about you or tell them about me and say, yo, you got to come here. This guy said he played Mobb Deep and mixed in fucking Sade and mixed in Red Hot Chili Peppers. And when, you know what I mean? You're going to have people talking about you.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? Like nowadays, I think it's gotten to the point to where everybody kind of just copies each other. I've gone to places where I've heard one DJ and I've gone to another place and heard other DJs, and everything sounds the fucking same.
Well, I want to talk about that point that you just made too. And we're on the Soul Show. This is your boy Rome. Shouts out to my man DJ Infinite that is on the show today. And I could talk to him for fucking hours, as you can tell. Normally the show is for fucking 1 hour, and we done gone 2 without any fucking, without any hesitation, because when DJs talk, we like to just pour it all out because we're normally playing the music. And
again, like I said, this is my opinion.
No.
You may not agree with me or you. You may, you know what I mean. But
we don't care about none of that. You're telling your fucking story, and we love you for that. So at the end of the day, I remember what you just said. We're walking down the Orange Avenue Strip, and I remember there was a time back in the days where I could walk past Barbarella. They're playing progressive house. Go to the Social. They're playing funk. Go to the fucking Decos or
he said Decos.
Right.
Fuck.
Or fucking Zuma Beach, and they're playing like fucking top 40, and then go off to Wall Street and they're playing fucking punk, fucking rock, fucking hip hop.
But you see how quickly everything now
it's all homogenized.
It's all basically the same.
It's
now,
all the
you
same.
know what I mean? Big shout out, and I say this, big shout out to BMF, because I did enjoy back in the 90s Barbarella's,
You mean the Social?
Shit, I think he had it at both places at one time. I think it was Barbarella's. I think it was. My wife is probably going to tune in and correct me if I'm wrong.
Sapphire Social Club, buddy. That's what it was.
He actually, and again, he was one of the cats that I went and I was invited there. Didn't know what the hell was going on. They just said they play hip hop. When I went there and I heard him, the mixture of funk, the mixture of hip hop, the mixture of rock, and this is pre-Serato, so this is vinyl. I was fucking amazed. I fell in love.
Dude.
You know what I mean? I was like, well, shit, where are we going where are we going tonight? I'm going to go to Barbarella's and listen
because it brought everyone out. The whole point of that Orange Avenue
and that's a true story. That's true, because you had punk rockers in the back with the fucking mohawks and shit. You had Puerto Ricans chilling in the corner. You had the white people chilling at the bar. You had, and everybody's just chilling, having a good time, enjoying music, dancing on the dance floor.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, like I said, big shout out to him. And as
now
a fan,
it's
and
an
as I enjoyed
address.
it, you know
and now
what I mean?
it's just an address.
Yeah.
Shout out to Caesar. I knew Caesar was going to be throwing the facts around. He said,
Thank you. He
he
said
did
Barbarella's.
Barbarella's on Tuesday. Yeah, you're right. I thought about it, and you're absolutely right. Yes, sir.
And see, you know, I mean, a big shout out to Caesar because Caesar is a cat that I've looked up to for years. You know what I mean?
Bro, you already know, man.
Going way back to the Lebanese club days and going to when, I don't know if you remember, go back on Real Radio 104.1, Drew Garabo. I don't know if you remember him.
Garabo, yes, come on.
He
man.
actually invited me and Caesar. I did one, and then the second one that we did like 3 of them with him. We did a hip hop thing on like a Friday. You know what I mean? Caesar came on. That's when me and Caesar kind of really
I don't
clicked and became
remember.
really good friends.
I don't ever remember hip hop on Real Radio.
No,
so
he
you have
just
to
did
hit me to it.
He just did it on his show.
Okay,
he did
on
on
his
his
show.
show.
Okay,
We turned it to like a hip hop show once every 6 months when he was like, "Hey, you want to do the hip hop show again?" I'm like, "All right, yeah." And he reached out to me and was like, "Yo, the
That's
next one
dope.
we do."
That's
Caesar
fucking
was
dope.
friends with him, and me, Caesar, and we had MCs come on, and Caesar was spinning, and I was spinning, and you know, I mean, he meeting him and doing that was something that I would really like to do. As you know, I mean, you know, technology nowadays, we could do this shit right here, like we're doing right now.
Right.
But doing something like that on a radio standpoint, like once a week, talking about same what we're doing right here, shooting the shit, talking about music, talking about good music, have people call in. That I fell in love with that. And you know, I mean, big shout out to Drew Garabo because he still reaches out to me every month on the computer or through text. He's now in Tampa, but you know, I mean, he introduced me, and you know, I mean, then ever since then, me and Caesar have just been cool with each other. We've done nights together. Big shout out to Jay Johnson. So you know, I mean, as a DJ, there's people you love to work with and people you want to work with. You know, I mean, there's people in Orlando that I haven't worked with. You know, what I mean, that I enjoy when I go out. What you know, I mean, shit, I work with anybody. I'm a humble dude.
Right.
You know, what I mean, people call me to fix their laptops all the fucking time.
I forgot me and you DJ that one night, that several nights, and I'm like, dude, when you just brought it up, I'm like, wow. But this is the beauty of the City Beautiful, because we went through a time where we were all on our own teams, we were all in our own corners, and we come to a point, which I believe is now, which is what the show provides for me, is the bridge to say, you know what, we're all telling these stories, except it's so dope when I hear you tell part of my story and you're telling it. I'm not telling it, you're saying it.
Yeah.
And for other people like a Caesar, you know, and all of these people that have been so much a part of this hip hop foundation construct,
you know,
in Orlando, that doesn't get a lot of the recognition. That
there are a
should.
lot of people that paved the way for a lot of these younger cats now.
Right.
And you know, I mean, and I'm not saying you have, but you have to respect, you know, the people that paved the way. But just like before me, you know, the Twice as Nice as you know,
Yes.
the you know, the Pro Styles, the Nasties, you know, I mean, Jimmy Jams, those cats paved the way for me. Magic Mike, those cats paved the way for me to do what I love to do what you love to do, and bring it to a wider audience. You know, I mean, once you get in the nightclubs, you know, I mean, you set a name for yourself. You know what I mean? You can come out, like I said, you could be that DJ with a controller in the top 100 songs at the, whatever bar downtown playing for $50, or you could be that DJ that when people know they come to hear you, they're going to come back with 10, 15 more of their friends and tell them about the place. And that's one of the things I loved about our Friday nights, is because we started off really slow at Haven when we started doing Hip Hop Fridays. I'm going to be dead honest with you. We would get maybe 50, 75 to 100 people in. But as time went on, after about 5 or 6 months, we started noticing more people coming. Oh, man, my boy told me about this place. He said, you were great, and your guest DJs are great. Because I used to bring in DJs every Friday. And I would open up and let the DJ do his thing. And now, you've probably had it happen before. I'm not going to go and start playing all these fucking bangers. So when And What or Caesar or this person comes on, or this person Remington comes on, I'm not going to blow their spot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's never been me. Even if like a Sunday fun day, I will play what I want to play, but I make sure I don't steal the shit that I know the other DJs need to play towards whatever when they do their set. And I think that's some people have a tendency to want to, and it's happened to me, come out and shine right out the bat.
Well,
And it's
I'm gonna just say this.
I'm like, God damn, nigga, it's only 10:04 and you're already playing this. What the fuck?
I'm gonna just say this. At the end of the day, man, part of what makes your team great is that the quality and how you work together. So at the end of the day, when you have a camaraderie or some kind of unification with people, you're able to read people. DJs are great readers. We can tell a good tune within the 4 second play.
Yeah.
And the same thing with people. As DJs, we can read people quickly. And we know what we
that's
can
our
gel
job.
with and
You know
work
what I mean,
with.
that's part of our job.
Right.
We have to, again, everything is so diverse. You're just not playing like I'm not playing to an all Latin crowd. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have Spanish people. I have white people. You have to play to everybody.
Right.
It may not, for the 5 minutes I'm playing or the 10 minutes I'm doing a little country set,
Right.
it may not apply to you, but that group that's over there that's enjoying it right now, that's for them, for their 15 minutes that they've come to enjoy.
Also, too, what you're alluding to is as a DJ, you are just as much as responsible for giving them a good time as well as telling your story.
Exactly.
Because that's how you separate yourself
From everybody
a
else.
generic DJ. If you don't fucking take them on the journey that you described earlier, you're pretty much something that they could buy somewhere else. And that's not the fucking point.
Put on a Spotify fucking playlist if you know.
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Cut the DJ out completely and put a fucking one of those jukebox in there.
Your
and
job
fucking
is
have
to
your
tell a story through the music.
and
Period.
you know what I mean, as a DJ working in the nightclub atmosphere, your job is also to make sure that people, dance, drink, and have fun. Because if the bar doesn't make any money, you ain't fucking making no money.
You're on the Soul Show with your boy Rome, with my brother from another mother, DJ Infinite. We've been kicking it. I could talk to this man for a little.
We can go on for like another hour. Shit, it's already been 2. Fuck.
Right, and it's so dope because when you get two DJs together, DJs in general don't get to tell their story a lot vocally because they're using records to do that. But when
the thing is with DJs, like, and this is going to pre-COVID,
Right.
when I went out, I would go out just to, just an example, like Caesar would be playing. I know he's going to be playing all night to go have a drink, hang out, shoot the shit,
Right.
whatever. Same thing for, with other DJs. It was to
Right.
go hang out and say, hey, what's up, my brother? I haven't seen you in a minute, blah, 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 blah. Then this is going back to pre-COVID. So, at some point,
Right.
I remember seeing you up at Haven a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The first place I went, and let's just put that on record. First place I went when I moved back to Orlando.
I think you had told me that you had just
Haven.
came off the plane and you saw my post and was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to come here and
I'm
had some
coming to
drinks
my
with,
mans.
with your
Yeah.
peoples, and then
Yeah.
had a good time."
Yeah, and that's what's so dope about Orlando in general because we know people that DJ, people that do their fucking thing, our brothers in DJing. We know their capabilities and we all support one another. And it shouldn't be about whether you're from over here or you're this or you're that. I mean, it's not easy being a DJ. It just ain't. It just ain't.
For people like me or you, it's not a problem. But
Right.
these younger cats, they think it's a competition that they, and I'm being dead honest. They assume that they have to outshine it all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a competition. Don't treat it as a competition because then you're taking away
I don't
from
blame
what
them, but I don't blame them because if I didn't have that knowledge that I got, shout out to Caesar Facts.
Facts.
If I didn't have that knowledge that I have, it would be hard to feel like I can have like a lot of this new generation. Believe it or not, they're struggling with being able to communicate with our generation. Our generation, in a lot of ways, has dropped the ball on a lot of shit. And I'm saying in general, I'm not talking about you being a father. I'm not talking about me being a father. I'm saying in general, our generation has dropped the ball because our parents did the right thing. They were able to make our situation a little bit better growing up. And for this generation that is now in that's got everything so easy and didn't have to work for anything. They grew up with a cell phone. They're looking at our situation like, well, shit, how come you're not respecting me? I know what's a hit. I know what sounds good for me. How come you're not respecting me? I don't know how to do all that scratchy scratch shit, but I do know what the people want.
Yeah. Now, let's go back pre-smartphone. Let's go back
pre-smartphone. Right. That's really
let's go back to the flip phones.
Yeah.
You didn't see everybody on the dance floor like this.
Right.
You know what I mean, and I think that's another thing too. Is like, you know, I mean, these things have kind of killed the dance floor in a way because now fuckers ain't dancing; they're just
right
on their smartphones. You know what I mean? And I've seen places that say, "Please leave your smartphone off the dance floor." You know, fucking put it in your pocket. You came there to dance. You want to go on your smartphone? Go to fuck home or go sit in the park.
I feel you, bro. But let me hold you on that, bro. Hold that for a minute. I'm saying, the way that we grew up and how we reached them youths no longer applies.
Oh, no.
I feel like we don't need to shun them to get respect. We need to talk to them and be considerate based on what they have had growing up.
Now,
we didn't have the cell phone, so we don't know what it's like coming out of the fucking womb with a cell phone. We don't know that. We don't know nothing about that.
It goes to the point of the people, and I'm gonna say this with the utmost respect to anybody that's watching.
Please believe me.
It goes to the people that are humble.
Right.
If you're humble and you're willing to take what I'm going to tell you or what you're going to tell them or what anybody's going to tell them to heart, it's different. But if you come out the box as a fucking dick, fuck you, bye. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I've had a lot of people like that.
I'm right there with you. And normal reactions would be that. But under this consideration, I'm just saying to you, brother, that a lot of times, especially what's going on in 2020, is we're quick to react, we're quick to anger.
Just one thing, this is going back pre-COVID, so we're going back pre-COVID.
I feel you. We're quick to anger, but we're slow to show that wisdom. The wisdom is that they're in a space in which everything that they're doing has a fucking reason why they're doing it. And it's not because they're a bunch of pussies. It's not because they're just ignorant or they don't know anything. They're looking to us. Like, what the fuck? You ain't passing none of this shit along? You ain't fucking saying anything.
I've talked to, a lot of, like, honestly, when I was doing a lot of, before controllers, this is pre-controller.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to this day, I would switch off and do vinyl or use my controller or use CDJs. I've had people come up to and ask me, hey, how is it easy to use turntables or is it easy to use CDJs? They have an open mind to want to learn. Some people just come out the box and just, I'm a controller DJ. Well, wouldn't you want to learn how to do CDJs or wouldn't you want to learn how to do a turntable? Same aspect and with everything you use. But that's what I'm trying to point out is that you have the people that are willing to learn and willing to listen to what you have to say, and then you have the people that they're going to be the way they are. And I've had many run-ins with quite a few people, and I don't have time for it. You know what I mean?
I got you.
If you want me to tell you how to do this, I will show you and I will teach you and I will make you go watch videos on YouTube because go back to when we started, we had to go back to our VHS tapes and rewind and go watch this person, go watch that person, go watch this person, look and how they do what they do, and then don't copy them, do the way you want to do it. And I've seen a lot of DJs, okay, and switch it up and like, oh shit, okay. They're not just, DJs nowadays you have to be in that open format.
And I think what you're alluding to is you have to have a genuine love for music. You have to have a genuine love for the history of music.
You have to know your music, period, point blank. Nowadays, in 2020, you have to know everything from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, whether it be, it could be a genre you don't even like. It may be something to you, but you have to, nowadays, a lot of people want that open format.
Right.
You can't be. I mean, when I first started, I was a hip hop DJ. Yes, now I consider myself an open format. I will play your 80s. I will play your Rod Stewart. I will play your fucking Mobb Deep.
Can I
I will
tell
play
you
your Wu-Tang Clan.
Can I tell you something? We grew up open format, son.
Yeah, yeah.
We
You know,
grew up
and I thank my parents for it because I grew up because they used to listen to like Barry White,
right.
you know, the Savannah Band. You know what I mean?
Were you alive when MTV showed up? I mean, that was strictly open
Now,
format.
when we grew up in the '90s, we had our Yo MTV Raps. We had these videos that
Right.
you would focus on at 10 o'clock on a Saturday when Yo MTV Raps came on. You wanted to see what the top 10 joints were.
Right.
Now it's completely different.
Right.
Now, fucking MTV is not even MTV. It's ridiculousness 24 hours a day.
Right.
You know, VH1 is nothing but old school movies and fucking reality TV shows. So, you know, I mean, that's what these people with the newer cats see. We did our research. You know, I had to go out and you know when Fab Five Freddy and them cats did the top 10 joints of the week, and I would write down, oh shit, the DOC, It's Funky Enough is number 3, De La Soul, Me, Myself, and I is number 12. This person is not, you know, and do my research and go out and make sure I had those records. Now, you know, like nowadays, our arsenal on our laptops is fucking 50 to 60,000 MP3s.
Right.
You know, the more, you know, I mean, I think of it, I got way too much shit on my laptop. Shit that I just want to get rid of and go, do I need 26 versions of Bruno Mars? No.
Talk about it, man.
Am I going to use you know, I mean, am I going to use 62 versions of WAP? No.
Talk about
You know,
it, man. Talk about it.
And it's a tedious task, and this is where, you know, I mean, I've posted some stuff on Facebook, and you know, people think, oh, you want to call me up to DJ for $150? Fuck you. I'm not. The time I put into this library, the time I put into this collection, yourself, Quest, everybody else, we've put time into this thing. You know what I mean? You're talking almost 15 years worth of Serato. So over the last 15 years, we've had to organize ourselves for everything.
You want to
You know
hear a
what I'm
funny
saying?
story, Ray? This quarantine, I took the challenge of taking all, and this is only for Serato listeners right now. I took the challenge of taking all of the files that are at the bottom of the alphabet, meaning they either are missing an artist or they're missing a title, and refiling them the way they should be. And that shit took me 5-6 months. The entire quarantine, I
Yeah.
just finished 2 weeks ago.
But now
And
you know
filing everything.
now you know your library. Now you're
Right.
getting familiar with your library. You know what I mean?
Right. And those are things I never got to play because they weren't in the
You didn't know they were
construct.
there.
Right. I didn't know they were there.
They were misspelled. You know what I mean?
Right, they were
Fucking
misspelled.
It was missing an S or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a big thing. You know what I mean? When I'm not doing anything, you ask my wife. I'm in my bed. I got my laptop open. I had to clear off like a bunch of stuff that I've never played
Right.
just the other day because I'm running out of hard drive space. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm not. Do I need to have a lot of techno and house on my laptop? No, I don't need it. You know, I would like to have it, but fuck, I have to go get another 2 terabyte
Another
hard drive.
Right. And that's what
So,
exactly I did.
you know,
got
I mean,
a
I had
4
to clear-
terabyte versus the 2 terabyte. I was
Shit.
like, shit.
I got a 1 terabyte, and that's just way more. That's way more overkill than, you know what I mean. So, you know what I mean, I've come to the fact of trying to downsize and organize another drive of just the stuff that I need. Because, you know what I mean, fuck, I don't need 72 versions of a song. Because you got to think about it. Nowadays, once a song comes out and everybody gets a hold of it, it's got a house version, has a dubstep version, or has a trap version, has a remix, or a multi-blend, or this, or that, or this. So now you're up to 10 different versions of a song that just came out.
Right.
Whichever one floats your boat and you play, that's up to you. But I don't need to have all those.
All right.
So, you know what I mean?
Let me stop this in progress because I want to let my audience know that this is on purpose. When I talk to my fellow DJ brethren, you're gonna get a little more than an hour of conversation because this is what we do. But let's lighten this up. Let's switch this up a little bit, and let's go to my favorite point of the night, which is top 5 dead or alive. Let's go. Top 5 MCs, dead or alive. Ray, go.
Fuck. Rakim, Nas, Biggie, Pac, and just for shits and giggles, because he's one of my favorite MCs, I'm gonna go with Razzcast for my fifth one.
Oh shit! Soul on Ice, Razzcast. Shout out.
I've been
Let's
a fan
go.
of Razzcast.
Let's go.
Since Soul on Ice days, and lyrically,
Yes.
he's a dope MC.
He had me with Soul on Ice, so we're in agreements there. Bro.
Now-
He was sick.
That's the top 5 MCs. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Now
Top
we're gonna go
5 DJs, dead or alive.
I knew
Let's
you were
go.
gonna do that.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
I have to go with DJ AM. Rest in peace, Jazzy Jeff.
Shout out to
Magic
AM,
Mike.
rest in peace, Magic Mike. Let's go.
Qbert
Hubert,
and Rock Raider.
Rock Raider. Oh man. Okay. Top 5 nightclubs, dead or alive. Let's go.
JJ Whispers, Firestone, The Edge, Barbarella's, and what was the one that Mike used to do on Church Street? I can't remember the name.
Are you talking about Phineas Fogs? No.
No.
That's Antigua?
There you go, Antigua.
Antigua. Let's
Oh,
go.
you know what? Let me take that back. I could add in Fourth Fighter. I have to put
Four
Fourth
Fighter. Oh, bro. You already
There's
know,
a lot.
bro.
There's a lot of stories at that place.
Yes. Okay. Favorite party record, if you had to show up and this is the only record you got, what is that record? Let's go.
Frankie Beverly and Maze Before I Let Go.
Yes, sir, bro. You done told the truth. Frankie Beverly and Maze. You can't lose
Have them
with
people
that, bro.
two-stepping wherever the fuck they are.
Right,
Once that
right.
song comes on, it's either I would go with that one, but I would also have to go with Luther Vandross.
Okay.
People hear that song. I don't give a fuck if you black, white, you up there two-stepping and on the dance floor. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
And
Craziest request ever given.
craziest.
Where
request.
you almost wanted to strangle them.
Oh shit! There's been too many of those.
No, I'm talking to a DJ. I know.
I'd have killed half of fucking Orlando by now.
Right.
now.
Craziest drunk request at the worst time, asking you to play the worst record in the world. Well, what is it? Go.
I think it has to be, and here's the fucked up part about it. I actually played the song. Somebody came up and asked me to play Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. No, I love Johnny Cash.
Ring of Fire. Now the original is really kind of slow, but I
Okay.
actually had a remix on there that somebody did, and I played that shit, and it went well.
Okay.
And
okay.
it was. I was like, oh shit, okay. Luckily, I had it, and it went. But that was a great fucking. That was great. Now did you say something about craziest thing ever at a nightclub?
No, craziest request
Ah.
ever. Like craziest request. Like you had to look at these people, and either the record played too long, and you're fucking like now the needle's skipping because you're arguing with the craziest request you ever had. As a DJ, you get that crazy request in some time of your career. Somebody asked you to play something that you refused to fucking play. Like there's no fucking way in hell.
If you ask me now, or
Right.
like you have to go back to when I first started. Now,
No,
you
I'm
come
talking
up to
about
me-
when. Right.
If you came up to me and asked me to play any type of country song, then I would have told you go fuck yourself. Period.
Did you ever play a record? Here's another question. Did you ever play a record that was a request and the crowd completely rejected you?
Yes.
And what was
I've watched
that
a busy
record?
dance floor.
Right.
And sorry, I'm gonna say this, and I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Fuck it. If any of my DJ friends are watching, fuck you before I even say it.
Right.
I want to say, it was a Miley Cyrus song.
Oh shit.
Which I think it was that party party on whatever the song that was, and I played it, and literally the whole vibe fucking just went.
Oh shit, bro.
And I was like this.
Yeah.
And then you know what song comes? And this is another. It's a crowd saver. Here comes Be Faithful, bass drop, and then everybody comes fucking right back.
Right.
But yeah, that and it happens because a lot. As DJs, we get songs prior to anybody knowing them until they hit radio, and then everybody loves them.
Right.
Nobody knew what Bodak Yellow was before fucking. Thank you, Laura. Party in the USA was. Oh, big shout out to my man Joel. I see you have my man Tonic's Lab coming on in a couple weeks.
You already know, bro.
Big shout out to him. Know. That dude, and I'm just gonna tell you this from the bottom of that dude with a fucking set of turntables is a fucking wizard.
I know. I see.
Like the custom tables he did for me.
I may not have said that I acknowledged it, but I've been in the background watching it because I'm a geek. I'm a nerd in my altar life, and I love what he's doing in that movement of being that person. And I get it. You know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong. Like, I can build computers, and I thought I was great enough to actually build a set of turntables.
Right. I'm right there with you.
But when I did what I needed to do and try to put them back together, and they were fucked up, and I started to cry almost, and I reached out to him, and he was like, "Yo, bring them over. I'll help you out." He had them ready to rock and roll, and he's a good dude. He said, "This is what you did wrong. This is what you needed." And like I said, I'm humbled to have him as a good friend, and the work he did on my custom Walking Dead tables is just phenomenal. You know what I mean? And he's done tables for Mike. He's done tables for a lot of people. And I saw his post.
You posted some shit the other day of him laser logoing, and I'm like, oh my god, are you? Yeah, kidding me?
He does.
That's what made me reach out to him, because I'm like, okay, that's
what
it.
he could do with a set of tables. Is if you have a vision in your mind and you give it to him, he's gonna make it happen. The best way he can. Because, like I said, as you see behind me, I'm a big Walking Dead fan. Like I'm a Walking Dead fanatic. I wanted a pair of custom Walking Dead turntables,
and you got them. I seen the motherfuckers.
Okay, and 4 weeks later, my tables came back completely custom with a paper that he got from London and did this shit with. And like I said, thank you, my brother. And when you get on the show, you're gonna have me messaging and talking shit about you.
DJ Tonic, Tonic's Lab. I'm gonna have you on the show here soon. Like I said, DJs hardly get to talk. DJs in our city hardly get to communicate on some shit outside of competing for a club. This is a monumental moment.
But we don't compete. I've never competed with anybody.
I'm just saying the communication about us being DJs and the stuff we've been talking about is not something that's normal. We don't carry on this communication for the public to see. No. We carry this shit on for us to talk about.
You'll see us in the back in the corner in the back booth with a beer in our hands talking shit.
Right. We talk to other DJs about this shit, but we don't put this shit out in public because it's a difficult fucking thing to do. It's not anybody with a controller can claim, and a YouTube channel can claim that they're a DJ, but at the end of the motherfucking day, there's years and fucking experience and education behind what you do and what we do and what this city does, that even if we never agreed on anything, we know, hey, bro, you seen that shit over there? Yeah, we face that shit too. We can all come together on, because we know a DJ's life is not easy. It's not.
Because I think we came up in the generation of hustling.
Right.
Where if you were throwing a night and you wanted people to come, you went out with those flyers in your hand. We didn't have this.
Joe Gray on the check-in. Let's go.
There he is.
Let's
my
go.
Dude. We don't have this, we didn't have this platform. Right. You go back, it was us meeting up, bumping into each other at the mall, and you going, yo, I got this spot. I'm doing it on Friday nights, hip hop, R&B, reggae, old school, blah, 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 blah. Now you go on Facebook every Friday and Saturday, and you see where you can make your decision on where you want to go from right there. And I think it's one of those things too where anticipation played a lot back in those days, because you anticipated, and I correct me if I'm wrong, Caesar, because I know you're still watching. I don't think they did it every. I don't think they did it every week. I think it was like a monthly thing, but the anticipation built, to know that, okay, on April 30th, they're doing the spot over at the Lebanese Club, or they're bringing. Caesar can chime in on this. I don't remember who he bring. I think it was the Lost Boys or one of those groups. But you anticipated that.
Right.
Now you just, all right, where are we going to go? We're just going to go downtown? All right, we're just going to fucking go to every single bar.
Right.
Hop, 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 and then just wind up where the fuck you going to wind up.
Right.
You know? I mean, I look at Facebook, and if I see somebody throwing an interesting party, I'll tell my wife, hey, you want to go check this out? Might be something a little different that we may enjoy.
Right.
Okay. And that might, become our spot for Fridays. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's fucking with COVID, we've been in for God knows how long. Shit. The only time I leave the house is if I got to work. Fuck that shit.
Right. Right. And before we get out of here, I want you to speak that. I want you to speak truth to power to that, because how have you been affected by this COVID as far as being a DJ? How has this affected you?
For everybody, shit just fucking stopped. You know what I mean? Income just kind of stopped.
Right.
Like I said, I've been blessed to, at least have, a part-time job during the day, to kind of sustain what I needed. But, when you're making an extra $400 or $500 a week, that shit hurts.
Right.
So, now that COVID is kind of, and the bars and nightclubs are open, there's a couple of things that are in the pipes. Matter of fact, me and Caesar just had a meeting the other day, on, trying to do something on the east side again. But we just got to make sure all the pieces are there.
Right.
Because if you don't have all the pieces, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to put, I wouldn't put a friend's name on it, and I won't put my name on it if all the pieces don't fall into place.
Right.
And that's, that's a big thing. And now, granted, like I said, I've had people call me up within the last week saying, hey, we stopped it during COVID, but we're actually going ahead with it on this date. Are you available now? So I got to go to my calendar and go, well, fuck yeah, I'm available. Let's do this,
Right.
And I think that's, the main thing is that it just kind of put everybody's shit on hold.
Right.
Now, are there certain things that as a DJ, now that COVID has happened and previous to that, and sitting there contemplating on stuff, is there certain things that I probably won't do? Yes, but there are definitely things that are in the pipes and the woodworks to come through. But now it's going to be with the right people. I'm just you call me up and want to book me for a gig, I don't know you from Joe Schmo. Fuck you. I think it's gotten to the point.
Shit, Ray. Talk your shit, Ray.
I don't want to associate with people that just want to and you probably don't want to ever have to have build something off your name. Because through the years I've built shit and then have people come kick me in the ass and be like, all right, well, we're not using you no more. We're going to use this person.
Go the cheaper route, right?
Not even the cheaper route. Just be like, all right, we're not using you no more. We're just going to go with this new guy.
Well, now that I'm 46, I've showed my age.
You're the
Shout out
same age.
to all my
Fuck.
46ers out there.
I got grandkids. Fuck you.
You already know, right? Well, I
So
ain't
does-
that motherfucking old. How about that?
I'm gonna put Caesar on blast, bitch. Me and Caesar got grandkids. Fuck all that shit. And
Damn, C's.
as Caesar, I love you, but we just had to put that out there. And
Yeah, bro.
like as a grandfather now, I enjoy spending time with the grandkids and the family and doing fucking hot dogs and hamburgers outside. On a Sunday that I don't have to work, or a Saturday that I don't have to work. So I've gotten to the point where I'm trying to limit my schedule so I can do more stuff. Caesar just put LOL. To limit myself to actually have that time off, because there was a time where I was doing 5 or 6 nights a week, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, when
I can't do that. We can't do that shit no more.
No, man. When I came back from Kansas City, I told my wife, soon to be 23 years, 24 years.
Oh, congratulations! We're right behind you.
Yeah, and I told her I'm not gonna be doing these fucking 3-4 fucking morning gigs anymore.
Nah,
And
it was fun when we were.
And that released me of that burden of feeling like I got a DJ to just simply please people. It now allowed me to look at the art retrospectively and actually do some things in which showcases what I'm trying to communicate. because
as we get older, you know, what I mean, we can.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing: go back to when we were 25 years old. You know, we can go out on a Friday night and not fucking sleep till Monday,
you're right,
and
all
wake
day
up in
long,
5
man.
hours and be like,
day
"All right,
long.
where are we going now?" Now we try that shit, we gonna die. We're gonna,
Right.
you know, what I mean, like I said, I'm happy to be in bed by 11:30 after I watch my
You already know, man.
CSI and all that shit, my TV shows, and my Walking Dead when it's on, and I'm in bed because I got to be up at 8 and be at work in the morning. You know what I mean?
Talk
And,
about it.
You know, as you get older, yeah, we could. Back then when we had 4 or 5 nights a week, I could do it. Now, shit, I'm lucky if I get through a fucking weekend. You know what I mean?
It's not that I wouldn't love doing it. It's just that's not the point of why I'm doing it.
No, you know,
So-
we there was a time where I did it because I needed the money,
Right.
and you know, I mean, that kind of at that point it kind of ruined stuff, you know, ruined shit for a while. But
Like
now it's
everything does when you do it for the money.
when you're not doing it for the music and you're just doing it for the money. And now, and I'm being dead serious. There was a time where I needed to, you know, I wasn't working a day job. Whatever I was
Right.
bringing in was working at night, you know,
Right.
DJing. And I, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I took those $150 nights. Will I
Right.
do that now? No, I'm not doing that shit no more. Fuck that shit. Now, and don't get me wrong. There's certain people that I will, you know, maybe once a month do a special event or something like that. Yeah, but am I gonna do that $150 night shit no more? Fuck
Well,
you.
one, to your early, we're talking about the beginning of the conversation. You said marriage, and in order to be married, there's certain things you got to compromise, which is one of the most valuable things you will ever have in your life, and it ain't money. It's called time. If you give up your time, which as a DJ, if you come home in the morning at 4 or 5 in the fucking morning, you're not available to like fucking 2, 3 and a half to fucking noon. You're
No.
just not.
Which shit, we would sleep. I wouldn't wake up till fucking 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. in the afternoon.
Right. You're not available. You're
And
just
you
not
know- and-
available. You miss out on the world.
You know what's really funny about that, and like I said, I have to, you know, big shout out to my wife because at
Right.
that point she was supporting what I wanted to do.
Right.
For the longest time, and you know, I mean, like I said, I give her credit where credit is due. For the longest time, she worked the day job and she was the moneymaker, and I,
Right.
you know, I kept
You're the artist.
I
You're the
kept my
starving artist. You're the
my
artist.
part of the my part of the deal was to, you know, I bring in this and then she did this.
Right.
And you know, over the years, she has always been the biggest breadwinner of the family,
Right.
and I love her to death because you know, without her, you know, I mean, the Pulse thing would have never, you know, I would have probably never gotten through that if she wasn't by my side. And all the trials and tribulations being married and being a DJ.
Right.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, and you could vouch for this. You know, I mean, there's
sir.
times where,
You
you
already
know, I mean,
know.
you're in the club doing your job, and your wife's there, your girlfriend's there, and all of a sudden she sees you talking to a female. You know, oh shit, here we go.
Cut. Cut.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it boiled down to a mutual respect. She knew she as a DJ. She knew this is what I did.
You're the soul
as-
of the operation. If
as
she's
the other-
backing you, then
exactly,
you're the
as the
soul
other-
of the operation.
As the other half of our partnership, I respect her 150%.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've told friends this. You know, and don't get me wrong. I've seen DJ friends of mine fucking everything that moved. You know what I'm saying? And you know,
Shout
there she
out
is
to
right there.
Patty.
Here she is
said,
right there,
"Fuck
ride or
that."
die. You know, what I mean, I've always said this to people. You know, why go out and have a cheeseburger when I got a steak at home? Period.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna risk my marriage and my happiness. And don't get me wrong, we've had our ups and downs, but you know, for the most part, we're almost 20 years in. So you know, we've beaten everybody that had us out in the first fucking 2 years. You have to have that other partner. Now, you know, what I mean, if you come up and don't have that, and you're single, you know, what I mean, you're gonna go through like we did, you know, the beginnings of it. You know, funny story is when I first started working at Firestone, and me and my wife, when we got engaged, the same thing happened. Is she saw this chick up in the, and I tell this story. She tells this story all the time, and this chick would not get down from the DJ. And Quest, if you're still watching, you put that shit up here because you were standing right fucking beside me when this shit happened. That motherfucker left the DJ booth, and this is a true story. If you remember, Firestone in the Den had a set of stairs that went up to the top level.
Right. You already know.
Okay, so the DJ booth at one point was where the stairs came down.
Right. Exactly.
Now, me and Quest are in there, and Quest just got done doing his reggae set, so I just jumped back on. Now, I'm literally trying to do my set, and I look up, and this girl is, here, blah, 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 blah. I look up on the stairs on the second level of that platform, and there's my wife. True fucking story. I'll never forget this. Quest taps me on my fucking shoulder, and goes, yo, look on the stairs. I said, oh, shit. I said, yo, get this bitch down from here. She's being a bugaboo. Get her the fuck down from here. She comes down the stairs, and I tell this all the time. It looks like she parted the Red fucking Sea because everybody on that floor went like this. And look, she came right up to the DJ booth. Now, if you remember at Firestone, the DJ booth was about 2 feet off the thing.
Yeah,
off the
you
floor.
already know. Right.
You had to go on stairs. She taps the... Now, Quest left. Quest said, oh, shit, here she comes, and left.
Yeah.
Put the fucking microphone down and just said, I'm going to get a drink. Bye. So I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like this. Trying to... So my wife taps her on the shoulder and said, can you please get down? See, here we go. Can you please get down? She flung her fake-ass ponytail in my wife's face, and I'll never forget it.
Oh, hell
My wife, I look around the girl, and my wife, she's like, fuck that. She went to go, can you do... All of a sudden, I see nothing but my wife grabbed this bitch by her ponytail and yoke her the fuck out. This bitch flew backwards like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Jazzy gets thrown out. Oh, look, there she is right there. Look. See, here she comes. Here she comes popping in the door. But it's a true story. She yoked that bitch out of the fucking DJ booth. And see?
Hey, and you know what? Shout out to all my people that are married, that have been able to withstand all the fucking wilderness that is marriage, because it is a wilderness, it's a forest. And
it's you work towards it. I don't give a shit who you are. You work towards it. Like I said,
like
we've
forest,
had our bumps in the road, but we've actually been able to
going to come out. You don't
go
know
over
which
those
way
bumps.
you're going to come out, and you gotta. It's chemistry. You can't. You don't choose the chemistry. You don't know no shit like that. I may put salt in salt fish, but it's already got salt. Yeah. You don't know what works. You're just blessed enough to have the right combination at the right fucking time. And shouts out to anybody that's been married over 20 fucking years, because that shit is
let alone nowadays married over 10.
Commitment. No, but 20 years?
Oh, 20. No, don't get me wrong. I'm saying like nowadays.
Nobody can question your commitment.
Nowadays, but nowadays, if you could do 10,
right.
I'm impressed.
Right.
With social media and all this shit now,
right.
You could be at the club and all of a sudden your friend's video pops up and your chick's like, yo, that's my man in the background with the fuck. What the fuck? Now you just fucked it all up.
Yo, you're listening to The Soul Show with your boy Rome and my brother from another mother, DJ Infinite. We're going to close out with this last question, because like I said, I could talk to this motherfucker for hours.
2 hours and 38 minutes in.
Right. We done did 2.5 hours and it felt like an hour, trust me. So, if you could see one thing change in Orlando as far as it concerns hip-hop culture, what would it be? One thing.
If you're talking about now, I'm gonna go shoot it and say lyricism.
Well, I'm talking about the city. I'm talking
the city.
If you could see one thing and how we deal with each other as a community, a hip hop community, if there was one thing that you can see based on what you grew up on, based on what you've experienced in the modern and what you've seen going into the future, if you could change one thing, what would it be?
I would say, I don't know if I've really changed anything, but I would say I love to see, people coming together in the hip hop community.
Talk about it, brother.
Back in the days, you used to have showcases where people would come out and do, just an example, like, Smiles and South Star. They'll come out and do a showcase, or the Warheads, or, your group. And I'm not saying it would take off, at 12 o'clock at night, but, on a Saturday afternoon or starting at 5 o'clock, there would be a showcase. I think I like to see that, but I mean, again, I don't want to go to a showcase and see nothing but 60 BPM hip hoppers trying to do their thing. I want to see some R&B. I want to see some reggae. I want to see some hip hop.
A legit story about our people.
I want to see every genre of music represented when I go to a showcase.
Talk about
now,
it.
I've done showcases, where, like I said, it's nothing but fucking trap music. And don't get me wrong, I respect your hustle and what you do. But if you're doing a 2-hour showcase and your shit sounds like everybody else's that's been on there, how am I supposed to separate you from everybody else? You feel me?
Right.
How am I supposed to like your song when the 5 acts that just came on before you were all the fucking same?
Right.
That one girl that just came up and did some poetry or did some R&B or did some reggae or Afro beats, I'm going to remember her before I remember those first 5 acts. Right. Period, point blank. And I think anybody could agree that, you when you do a showcase, you're showcasing your talent, but don't try to be like everyone else.
Right.
I think that's where hip hop is kind of taking a downfall and a back seat right now, because everybody's trying to sound like what's hot right now on the radio. Your 65 BPM or 75 BPM, 70 BPM track, along with everybody else's, what distinguishes you from everybody else? Now, like I said, you have 10 artists, and out of all those artists, one person, a reggae artist comes up, and an Afro beats artist comes up, and an R&B artist comes up. Even somebody doing rock on it. I'm gonna remember those acts before I remember the first 6. You feel me?
Right.
Because they're gonna stand out more, and I'm gonna tell my wife. I'm gonna say, that Afrobeats chick was off the chain, or the guy with the guitar that did AC/DC was off the chain. I'm gonna remember that before I remember anything else, and that's just being dead honest.
Let's leave on that last token that you said, rock. R.I.P. Eddie Van Halen.
Yes, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen.
That was a tough loss to get right before the show.
What's funny is on my way home from work when I jumped on my phone and I saw it, I was like, holy shit. I went out back, and my wife was sitting out there, and I said, hey, yo, Eddie Van Halen, rest in peace, shit.
It's a tough loss. Because that was a part of my childhood, and I know it was a part of yours.
Shit, that's a part of fucking Van Halen is a part of all our childhood. Beat
man.
It is part of our childhood.
Right. Jump. Running with
Hot
the devil.
For Teacher.
Hot for Teacher. I mean, come on. Panama. I mean, it's just
shit, Panama.
It was a tough day in general with all the madness that is going on already.
We lost the pioneer.
We lost Eddie Van fucking
without him, there would have been no Van Halen on MTV.
Right. He was the legacy of Jimi Hendrix, to be honest.
I think he's probably one of the top 5 guitarists.
Right. Ever. And shouts out to Eddie Van Halen. R.I.P. to the family. It's tough, and but it's been an honor to have you on, man.
I appreciate it, my brother. I like what you're doing. I've had conversations with a lot of people about doing something like this. Myself, but with the schedule I got, we off the air. Me and you need to talk about a couple things, maybe working together on a couple things.
Yes, sir.
Because I got a place that wants to do something like this.
Yeah.
And I think maybe with you and me, conjuring it up, it might actually be something pretty damn decent.
Hey man, that'd be dope, brother. You see what I'm doing out here, man.
I got you, brother. Believe me, I've logged on. I've been in my bed, and when you had Remington on, when you had Night Train on, I try to log on when I can. You know what I'm saying?
And we're about our
my ass is old, so my ass will fall asleep before you fucking do this shit.
I'm on your schedule too, son. Just maybe a couple minutes later, but you see, I'm about my city. I'm about the stories that I was privy to witness growing up, and I feel like your story, as well as others, have not been told in a way that gives the city the identity in which it deserves. Because we're a transient city. We're a transient city. People come here and grab shit.
My story and your story is probably one of about 5 million in Orlando.
Right.
And with a platform like this, 2 hours a day, you could have, everybody up here telling their part of that story. And Orlando has, a big story to tell.
Right.
And, a lot more to come. So, we just gotta,
we gotta continue to what you said.
Continue to push forward.
Throughout this entire conversation, you talked about unifying and coming together. This is the fucking platform. As I tell everyone that comes on this fucking show, you are the sound of Orlando. And
I
this
appreciate
is
you, brother.
what this show is about completely. It's about our sound, our fucking story, and our city. Straight
Yes,
up.
sir. Like I said, brother, I appreciate you having me. And I look forward to some more guests that you're having.
Yes, sir.
One of these days we'll sit down and chat and see if we can
Let's do
make
it,
some
bro.
shit happen. Fuck
You
it.
already know, bro. You bring two crazy motherfuckers, it's gonna lead to three. So
Well,
we good. Let's go.
Two crazy motherfuckers and some alcohol. That'd be a real like
You already know,
you see today I was just drinking some Coke, but I'm saying you put a couple Coronas and some couple shots, we'd have a fucking party.
Welcome to Orlando, folks. This is how
Yes,
we
sir.
do it. Hey, like I said, bro, love you.
love you, brother.
What you've done in this fucking city. Shots out to fucking 20 years, 30 years
20.
more of that.
Yes,
Please
sir.
continue to do what you do. The city needs it. I need it. Continue to do it, man, because you're an inspiration to a lot of us, man.
I
Continue to
appreciate it,
fucking
my
do
brother.
that, bro.
Thank you very much.
right.
I'm humbled to be on the show and humbled to have you as a friend, my brother.
Yes, sir, bro. Respect. That is DJ Infinite. He is the sound of Orlando. Thank you, sir, for coming on the show today, brother.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. Hey, man, we represent that hip hop up in Orlando. We went pretty long, but dealing with what we were dealing with, which was everything DJ Infinite, we had to go that long, man, because when we're talking about DJs, when we're talking about Pulse Nightclub, when we're talking about hip hop culture in Orlando, we got to give it its due. So, once again, thank you for tuning in. For all my late bloomers that are continuing to tune in, the Sound of Orlando show. Catch us tomorrow with a new guest from our city that represents our city, our story, and our sound. You better believe that. Go tell your brother about that. Go tell your sister about that. This is the Sound of Orlando.
Orlando has long been known as the City Beautiful, also known as the city with a
Sound. Live on stage.
The sound.
Orlando. So, is they ready?
You mean to say that's the best you can do?
Hip hop is something you live.
Almost anybody could do better than that.
You know? Okay. The sound of Orlando. Yo. Lock this down like it's supposed to be.
On your FM dial.
Say rock car.
This is trying to hold this up.